Cinema Oddities, late night movies with Rob and Zach. This is a podcast about cinematic oddities where we discuss any media that is too bizarre, abnormal, or off kilter for contemporary audiences. Occasionally these projects gel. Most times they crash hard into the realm of obscurity. Join us as we delve into the cult classic swamp. I'm Zach.
And I like redheads too. Now, that might not be the best quote to open up this episode with, but I just saw this movie in theaters. I kind of glazed over almost immediately and wasn't paying attention for the good, quotes to start this with. And also, like, the people in my theater got mad at me because 10 minutes after the lights went down, they were like, please shut your laptop off. So I have no notes for this episode. But that was the quote I remembered, so that's what we're going with. Oh, Zach, here we are again. Hopefully for the last time to discuss a dinosaur movie, right? Hopefully.
Oh, it's weird how they sold this as the, quote, last one, yet this felt more like an anthology film. Like, it felt like just like a chapter in, like, the book of dinosaurs.
Definitely. I would say it wasn't even really about dinosaurs.
It was a book about bugs. It was
right?
had more in common with biblical plagues than it did dinosaur movies.
Yeah, I have to say, like, right off the bat, I did not watch any, like, trailers for this. I mean, I saw the teasers and stuff, and I would see the first 5 seconds of when an ad would play on YouTube, and so I went into this pretty much blind, other than knowing that it was, the madman himself, Colin Trevorrow, and then we were getting everybody from the entire franchise back. I was kind of completely blindsided by the entire, the world is going to end because of giant locusts plot. I had no idea that was happening.
It's a rather fascinating, oh God, it's... What? The entire, like, meat of the plot. Like,
yeah.
that's the plot. Like, the dinosaurs just feel like an afterthought. It's kind of that notion of, I think they've realized they've kind of run the dinosaurs run amok thing into the ground. So it's like, what else do you do than the dinosaurs just kind of in the background, which is literally what happens in a sequence in Malta where there's just dinosaurs in the background and it's just like a chase amongst people and the dinosaurs are just kind of thrown in for good measure.
Yes, it is the you're speaking of the shot-for-shot remake of Gemini Man that Colin Trevorrow pulled off in this movie.
Weird to think that we're at a place where Gemini Man is somehow more mentally stimulating than a dinosaur movie.
Oh, God. And that movie was about bugs, too, or kind of, because the only way they knew Will Smith and Will Smith knew they were the same person because they were both allergic to bees. And that's an if and only if. If 2 people are allergic to bees, they are the same person. But, enough about Gemini Man. Oh, I mean... Zach, this movie, I mean, how do we want to start this? Do we want to talk overall thoughts? Do we want to talk theater-going experiences? Because we both just saw it yesterday. How do we want to break this down?
Well, of course, we have to delve into theater-going experiences because I kind of teased this to Rob before we started recording, but I saw this in the infamous Avengers Endgame theater, the, oh, good Lord, cornerstone of just Zach's movie-going experience for roughly 20 years. And I've always said that, and it's a joke even with Zenger. Zenger makes it almost more of a joke than I do now, and that anytime I go see a movie, something has to go wrong. Like, it's one of those things where it's the equivalent of, like, stepping on a crack, except when it comes to movie-going experiences, and it lasts 20 years.
Yeah.
So, okay, a little bit of context for this. So, as Rob knows, I think it's in the Avengers Endgame series, the, quote, big theater conundrum where, like, if I'm going to go see a movie at the Gonorrhea, I have to see it in the big theater. Otherwise, like, why am I going to the movies? Mm-hmm. So, obviously, I look up what theater it's playing, blah, blah, blah. And so, like, a couple days beforehand, I'm like, just because of work schedules, availability, I'm like, I have to see this, like, on a Saturday, which is, oh, good Lord, like, it's heresy to me seeing a movie on a opening, like, weekend, it not being like Friday morning or something of that sort. So I'm like, I was thinking about it the night before, and I'm like, I'm sorry, 2 nights before. So, like, Friday afternoon, I go to the theater because I still have gift cards. I'm almost running out of gift cards, Rob, going back to the infamous movie voucher story. I'm almost running out of gift cards, but I still have some. And so I go there and I'm like, hi, can I have, like, 2 tickets for the 4:30 showing, these seats? Okay, sure, no problem. Okay. Get to the theater beforehand, and of course I saw this movie with Rachel, and the update, Rachel still has not watched the killer cut of Candyman. Okay. We are still waiting on that. I am on pins and needles every single time I talk to her, like, did you finally get to that? And she disappoints me continually with saying no. So we walk into the theater, and again, Rob's seen this lobby, and I've never seen the Ganyeria do this before, but they decorated the entire lobby for Jurassic World.
Oh, wow.
Like, I'm not kidding you. Like, they went and they must have spent like $50+ on like fake like leaves and stuff to make it look like one of the like tropical areas. They took they covered the pillars like in fake like cardboard to make it look like stone. Like, they went all out. Like, they put signs up everywhere like "Don't feed the dinos." They had like back in the day, their extent of decorating the lobby was like putting like a stuffed animal from Build-A-Bear like in the window. Like, that was their equivalent. Like, again, somebody spent $30 at Build-A-Bear and they got a stuffed animal out of it. But like, I mean, like, in like relative to what that is, the Build-A-Bear, so much effort decorating the lobby to the point where like there was one cashier that was wearing both a Jurassic Park t-shirt and a Jurassic Park denim like jacket. Like, yeah, exactly.
So
yeah.
was this just in the lobby of the, like, this wasn't
Yes.
outside of the movie theater?
No.
So you had to actually have already been in the movie theater to see it, is what you're saying?
Well, the lobby where the concession stand is,
Yeah,
like, you don't have to purchase a ticket, but it's one of those things where you have to walk in. Like, they even painted like the glass like with that, like make it look like dinosaurs. Like, sometimes places do that for like holidays.
Sure.
Like, they'll do like, I mean, they went all out in a way that I have never seen.
Yeah. Because I'm just kind
Galleria.
of thinking, like, what is the purpose of that? Because I could get it if it was like somewhere else in the mall and you're walking by and you're like, oh, that new dinosaurs movie out, maybe we should go see it. But this marketing tactic seems like you're already going to see it if you're viewing these decorations, or you're going to see something else. I don't know what's out right now. Like, you're going to see, I don't know,
Top Gun or Doctor Strange.
or
That's it.
You're going to see Crimes of the Future, Cronenberg's Crimes of the Future, and you see all these decorations. You go, maybe I'll go see the dinosaur movie instead. That just seems so weird that they go all out, and it's not even really like a marketing tactic.
I don't think it's a marketing tactic. I think either somebody in charge or the collective group, based on the person wearing the T-shirt, were excited about this. Like,
So
it
it's for
feels
more
like
morale or something like that.
Yeah, like exactly. Like, there was a level of participation and effort that I've never seen in that theater before. But little did I know that this would all be for naught, because when it comes to competence, ooh. So obviously, because get concessions, go down to ticket taker. I'm not sure if Rob remembers the ticket taker, not the black guy from the Avengers Endgame series, but there's the very heavy set Italian stereotype guy.
Okay, I don't think I remember him.
Okay, he's been working there since when Sal and I used to go there all the time.
Okay.
Like, so we're talking 15+ years now. Lord help him for literally having the exact same job 15 years later. I guess when it comes to cushy gigs, just sitting there ripping stubs or now just scanning QR codes.
Yeah.
It only gets easier from there. So what happens is, and Rob's gonna love this, is that like he's there like tearing ticket stubs and scanning QR codes, but there's what I can only assume is still one of the assistant managers. And I know because this was one of the people who rejected me during the movie voucher story. Mm-hmm. So obviously my blood is boiling because like all those memories keep flooding back to me. Like, it was just all those like things that are subtle, buried, or just coming right back to the forefront. And so he rips the ticket stub in half and he goes, "Theater 15, he gives the seat numbers, enjoy the show." Okay. So I go walk up like to where the theater is, and I realize that the little like marquee outside the theater, the LED board, says Jurassic World 3 p.m. Look at my watch, and it's like 4:15. Mm-hmm. And my ticket says 4:30, Theater 15. And I'm kind of doing one of these it's me, right?
Sure.
And if it weren't for the fact that there was 2 employees waiting to clean Theater 16 right next to it, I look at them and I go, "What am I missing here?" And they look at my ticket stub, they look at the thing, they're like, "Huh, they must have moved the theaters around for showings." And I go, "What?" And they're like, "Yeah, they must have. We're having some issues with Theater 14, so they had to like rearrange. They had to like maneuver around like all the times." And I'm like, okay, like this is good. Like, again, as Rob knows how seriously I take the big theater thing. Like, this is going to be an issue. So I go back, and like the Italian stereotype man is like, he has like, I go up to him and I'm like, "Theater 15, like, what's going on here?" He has no idea what I'm talking about. but manager lady's there, and she's like, and she overheard him when he told us the location and like this, and she's like, yeah, I figured you guys would be back. It's like,
oh God,
what did you think we were going to do?
Yeah.
Like, walk into a movie that was already an hour and 15 minutes in progress? Was this going to be the Expendables all over again, where you just thought we would just walk into a movie halfway through? And she's like, yeah, we had an issue with Theater 14 this morning, and we had to rearrange the show times. And I'm like, well, I kind of wanted the big theater. I'm like that's why I come here, is because I want that thing. Like, most of the other theaters are smaller. She's like, well, I can get you for Theater 16. It's only a slightly smaller screen. And it's like, I know what your theaters are. You have two. I'm like, okay. And obviously, because Rachel, for some reason, was very excited to see this, because I guess I've built up hype that I hate these movies so much now. So there's this weird sort of like anti-hype for her. And so she's like, well, I'll just like, I'll get you things for Theater 16. Like, the showing's at 5. And I'm like, whatever. I'm like, I don't care. And so I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I'm talking to Italian Stereotype Man. I'm like, what happened to Theater 14? And he's like, yeah, the bulb exploded this morning. I'm just like, and like, you know me, I'm like, please elaborate.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, like when we used to back in the day, you could just like open the projector and like replace the bulb. But like now you have to like literally get this very specific mechanism that like takes the bulb out. And when they were doing that, the bulb exploded. So like the theater's completely out of commission until they get this fixed. And it's like, oh. And he's like, look at all this paperwork, because like, I guess people purchase tickets on Fandango. So they literally had 5 pieces of paper stapled together, I guess, of all the showings from the weekend, where people did like Fandango, whatever, like regalcinemas.com, of how they were going to rearrange all this. And I guess by me buying a physical ticket in advance of the theater completely threw that out of whack. Part of me wonders now that like, are we going to come to a point where you cannot buy tickets at the theater anymore? Like, is this going to be like a musical concert or like a sporting event where you just cannot buy tickets at the thing anymore? It's going to be we can't sell you tickets. You have to go onto the app to do that. Like, it feels like that's what we're trending towards with movies.
Sure. Like,
they have like no interest in selling you tickets at the theater. Just because it's that thing of they want to know in advance how many people are buying tickets.
Exactly.
For whether it be staffing, concessions being stocked, whatever. So we go to Theater 16, and of course it's a dinky theater, and she got us the seats in the nosebleeds all the way in the back, the antithesis to me being in the center of the theater. So I'm automatically mad about this. And I'm like, well, what I'll do, I've done it before. I did it when they first implemented reserve seating with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I just sat there, waited until like 15 minutes after the movie started. You can check the seating arrangements. Yeah. And I just sat, and then like what happened was, by that time, like the theater was almost like at least half, if not 2/3 full. And I'm like, I'm not going to do this now. And so I'm stuck all the way in the nosebleeds, where like I could have like probably gotten a better image sitting at home watching a torrent of this. Oh, and I'm just like, it was that level. I'm like, why am I, again, outside the fact I have a girlfriend that enjoys my misery, it's like, what is the point of any of this? And then of course, sitting in the back, that's where all the burnouts sit. Burnouts sit exclusively in the back row. So I get a bunch of dude bros that proceed to sit right next to me. And it's like, are you kidding me right now? And the whole time they're just like mouthing off at this, like the previews. And thank God that like during like one of the last previews, grandma and grandpa, I guess, like bought tickets, and they're like, you're sitting in our seats. And they're like, oh, we just can't sit where we want.
Oh God.
And so they proceeded to sit in the row right in front of where we all were. And the whole time I'm just like, I hate this movie theater so goddamn much.
Yep.
Like, it's getting to the point where we've joked about it before when it comes to Danbury and how like me driving 45 minutes each way for a movie, at least there I can have my IMAX theater, and I don't think about it. It cost $15 for a 4:30 showing at the Galleria. An IMAX ticket is $19 in Danbury.
Yeah, that's not the worst.
It's like
difference.
And it's like, again, gas prices and mileage aside, it's like there's nothing at the Galleria that is the elevated experience.
Yeah, exactly.
It's there. It's the equivalent of there's nothing else. There's that in the Roosevelt.
Sure.
So yes, Rob, the Galleria somehow Oh God, my expectations were rock bottom, but fuck, somehow they got it even lower.
Never disappoints on how bad it can be.
No,
right? Yeah.
no. That place, just when you think they've somehow figured out how to screw me over every single way, somehow they found another way. Much like in Jurassic World, somehow screwing over Zach finds a way.
Yes, exactly. Well, I saw this yesterday as well. I saw it a little earlier. I think it had like a 115 or 120 showing I went to. I knew I was doing stuff earlier I guess I should start this way, because on Friday I was like, okay, I got to go see this on Saturday, so like Zach and I can talk about it on Sunday. And I knew I had stuff to do Saturday morning. I wasn't sure exactly how long it was going to take, so on Friday night I was trying to look at the theaters and like times on Fandango, and I was like, I don't want to go to one that's too crowded or anything like that. And I've never seen this before, but I was on Fandango it was the day of, so it was past midnight. So it was Friday night, but technically Saturday. And it had to be like 12:15 a.m. or something. And I'm on the Fandango app, and I'm looking at the theater I usually go to, and all the times are grayed out. And I'm like, are these all sold out? Like, that's crazy, because even the like open caption one was grayed out. And I click on one of them just to see what it says, and it's like, this showing has already ended. You can't buy tickets for it.
Oh, it was doing the day before.
Yeah.
I've seen that.
Okay, I had never seen it before, but I was like, okay, I guess I'm not going to that theater. So I look at another theater in Fort Collins, and I find that one, and I'm like, okay, I don't really know. And none of them are sold out. None of them seem too crowded, except like the later in the day ones. And I was like, if I can catch an afternoon one, that'll be fine. I do my stuff on Saturday morning. It ends around like 11 o'clock. I go on Fandango. I find a time at 1:20. I find a theater that's kind of not too full. I get my seat kind of right in the middle, kind of the seat you wanted, Zach, and like no one else was around me. And it just kind of worked out perfectly. I ate, I showered, I headed over there. I got there. No one sat next to me. I was dead center. It turned out to be a huge theater. It was very loud, which I thoroughly enjoyed because I love loud things. And in terms of my theater-going experience and my audience, I'd say it was about 75% full, Some people were near me, but not, directly next to me. I'm glad you mentioned someone who was like, those are our seats, because that happened in my theater behind me as well. Someone was like, I think you're in my seat. And the person sitting there was like, how do you tell which seat's which? And he didn't say it in a questioning way. He said it in like a defensive way, like that. Like, how do you know what seat's what? And the person is like there. It's like on the seat, and must have pointed or shown them. The person's like, oh, okay, and gets up, and so that happened. The theater, for the most part, I'm sure as we go through the movie, we'll talk about the reactions of the audience to the actual movie. But I did want to mention the negative thing in the audience that happened. The most negative for me was before the movie started. And it was when Maria Menounos was finishing up Nuvi. And so at the end of her Nuvi thing, she says, she does her whole spiel where she's like, oh, thanks for watching and checking out our content. You should come follow me on Instagram or follow Nuvi on Instagram and listen to my podcast, which is something with Maria Menounos. And after every sentence Maria Menounos said, someone in the theater who had to be close to me, I couldn't tell exactly where, just kept saying, like, Maria Menounos would be like, thanks for enjoying Nuvi, and the person was like, I didn't. And then and Maria Menounos would say, like, come follow me on Instagram, I won't. Come follow me on Twitter, I won't. And it's like, listen to my podcast, never gonna do that. And I really wanted to be like, don't talk back to Maria Menounos, but I didn't. But it actually made me upset, because I'm like, that's a joke. It's a joke that I've done before. I mean, I think famously, the Alice in Wonderland, that was funny. No, it wasn't. Or I disagree, or that type of thing. But I was just like, you don't talk back to Maria Menounos. And I was very upset about that. But then there was 80,000 minutes of trailers. I think 3 of them were for the new Minions movie. And then the movie started.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I will say that as somebody who I did see Top Gun Maverick in IMAX.
Okay.
And like, that was a definition of like a boomer theater where like half the audience like age was above like 55.
Sure.
And somebody was sitting in my seat, and I'm like at this point, like back in the day, that would just like, my blood would have boiled. And like, again, they're boomers, like they're easily 60. I'm like, yeah, you're in my seat, get out. It's like I don't even hesitate anymore. And that's the thing about reserved seating, I guess, now that like think about it, like all that was implemented back in like what, mid to late 2019, and so it never really had a chance to percolate with like non-moviegoers, because by
Sure.
that by what, February, March, like movie theaters were shut down. So it's kind of fascinating to think that like what, 2.5 if not 3 years later, we're finally starting to see how like dummies understand reserved seating,
Yeah, yeah.
which doesn't seem like a very steep like learning curve, but it seems like it is. Like it seems like people cannot wrap their head around the idea like, oh, this thing that I purchased with an explicit number is what I have to do 5 to 6 minutes later.
Right? That's exactly what I think. Like the only way the only way you physically can't know that you have a reserved seat is if somebody else bought the ticket for you. Like when you buy them online, it makes you choose your seat. When you buy them at the theater, like when we went to Candyman, you have to choose your seat. So it's like, how do you not know? You're just like, okay, yeah, I'm just hitting a button, whatever. This means nothing. And it's like, what do you think? It's like they're the same people who buy like a desk or like a dresser from IKEA or Walmart that you have to assemble, and when they're done, they have like 3 screws left over, and they go, they gave me extra screws. I don't need these. And it's like, no, you fucked up. You're an idiot for thinking that.
It has to be that. It has to be people just being careless and just being like, yeah, nothing.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. I don't know. I also think they're playing bingo, whichever comes first.
Right.
But yeah,
I made a line,
pretty much. I know, right? It's a Timmy Turner Fairly Odd Parents. Like, Timmy, how'd you get an A on the test? I drew a cat.
Yeah. Was the last trailer before the start of your movie like a little short of minions standing on top of a building, and they're like trying to get their voices to echo, and then it turns out that they're like yelling at a dinosaur? Was that?
No.
That was the last. It went on.
I got a
so
Minions
long.
trailer.
Oh,
I got a Minions trailer.
We had a Minions
It's them trying
trailer.
to land the plane.
Yes, so we got that trailer, which was like pure chaos, and I think it's a war crime to play a Beastie Boys Sabotage in a Minions trailer.
Yep.
But yeah, the last thing before this started, my movie started. I saw it at a Cinemark, so I don't know if it probably is, chain specific or something. But it was like 2 minions standing somewhere, and they're like screaming out into the distance, and they're trying to like get their voice to echo, and like one of them does it, the next one like fails, and the other one's like, no, you have to do it louder. That's what you gather, because minions speak, like some bastardization of Yiddish, it seems. And like this minion like screams into the thing, and it comes back with a big roar, and it like pans out, and it turns out that the minions are standing on this building, and it's like there's a dinosaur there, like a T-Rex, and the T-Rex and the minions just kind of stare at each other, and it hangs for way too long. And then it like cuts to a screen with text, and the screen says like, enjoy Jurassic World Dominion. We'll see you again soon for Minions: The Rise of Gru, or whatever that movie's called. And it was just very strange. I had never really seen anything like that, where they were like, enjoy this movie, but you better be back for this or else,
That's the previews for this were kind of all over the place. The first one, which is becoming kind of like a low-key obsession of mine, is the racist Buzz Lightyear trailer.
Yeah, we got that
where
one.
I'm just like that. I'm slowly becoming intrigued by, because it actually seems like they're doing. It's not different, but it seems like Pixar is at least trying to go outside the playground of just the emotional manipulation. Like they're venturing beyond the Bambi zone.
Sure.
And don't get me wrong, they're going to do their normal shtick. It's just buried a little bit deeper. But like that was our like I think second trailer. For a PG-13 movie, the trailers were kind of all over the place. Like we got Buzz Lightyear, we got Minions. The one trailer that I just want to touch about briefly was the new George Miller film with Idris Elba as a genie.
Oh, I didn't get that one. That sucks. I want to see that trailer. Okay.
That hadn't even that movie. I don't know how. Did not even blip on my radar as like a movie fan. And I'm watching this, and like Rachel started laughing because my jaw was dropping. I'm like, I'm like, George Miller's made a new film? Because all I keep hearing about is how he cast what's her name, the space between our stars of our eyes, as Furiosa, and I'm like, he actually made a movie, and it kind of looks bonkers.
Yeah, it's 3,000 years of longing. I've been reading about it. I think.
Yeah,
it
looks interesting, and I'm just like, does this happen still? Like seeing like movies advertised in theaters and it being a novel experience. I'm like, this has to be wrong. I'm like, where's the minion? There should be a minion in the corner somewhere.
Exactly.
Where's Steve Carell? No, like that was, like I said, very weird like trailers. Like I expected. Oh God, I expected Thor, no Thor trailer. Oh, there was a trailer for Nope and Bullet Train.
Yes,
there was
yes.
that.
We got Nope and Bullet Train. And I'm glad you actually mentioned trailers all over the place, because the Minions trailer played, and right after it was the Nope trailer, and it was like whiplash, you know. But we did get the Thor trailer, so I think that we didn't get the George Miller, but got the Thor. So that seems to be our difference.
Like I said, that's the thing, because I guess this Thor, because it's coming out in a couple weeks. But again, like it feels like they this, much like the trailers for this film and the film itself, I don't think it knows what kind of movie it's trying to be. Like, imagine trying to program the marketing around this.
Yeah.
Like, who is this movie trying to entice? And again, like any sort of good Colin Trevorrow film, nobody.
Exactly.
Like, who is this for? And the answer is nobody. A hard nobody.
I'm with you. I do want to mention that the trailer for Nope that played was one I had not seen before. I'd seen the first one like twice.
It's a new one, yeah.
Yeah, and now I'm a little more. I hated that first trailer because it showed nothing, and it was just like, you know, I'm like, is this going to be like we've been saying for a while now, the M. Night Shyamalan thing of like, he's going to get away with showing nothing, and people are just going to go and grovel at his feet, you know, and stuff like that.
Well, have you heard what the leaks, like nothing specific, but more just from what I've heard about Nope, is that they are doing it, apparently from what I've heard, and this is like going back to like why I used to do the Raw back in 2013, is that it's apparently a competently made film. Like it's not the Get Out, it's not the thing, it's not social justice film. The problem is that they're mismarketing it from what I've heard, because I've said from what I've read, they're selling this as Signs, but in reality it's Tremors. And I'm like, Jordan Peele doing like oh god, monster schlock? I'm like, that I can get on board with. Like, if he's able to learn to peel away the social message, or at least make it a little more veiled, like that'd be phenomenal for him. Like if he actually like learned lessons from the Twilight Zone. Sure. Which I don't think he's capable of. But
exactly. No, I'm definitely, like I said, I did not like that first trailer. This second one I'm much more interested in, because it actually had something, you know, it said something rather than, God, the first time I saw that trailer, the teaser, I guess it would be, was before the Batman, and it was like incomprehensibly dark, you know? Like I could not understand anything that I was seeing, except the big white letters that would show up on screen. This trailer made it look a little more interesting, and so, you know, I mean, I'm going to see it because I'm interested in Jordan Peele, but at least this trailer gave me something, finally.
Yeah, like I said, from what I'm hearing about Nope is that it's, again, nothing about like its commercial prospects, but it seems like he's trying to do something different.
Okay. Well, that's good. That's at least, you know, it gives me some, you know, hope that I'll be
some semblance of a relief.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, the trailers, like I said, the trailers for this were all over the place, to the point where like I just, like, even in my feeder for this, there was no, like, for a Saturday at 5:00, which is by no means late, there were no kids in the theater. And I'm just like, is this a thing that kids just don't care about anymore? Like have they poisoned the well enough after Fallen Kingdom that nobody cares?
Sure. My theater had a good bit of, it was a good smattering of like all ages. Definitely some kids, you know, like as I was sitting there, saw some kids walk in with like Jurassic Park t-shirts on and stuff like that. But then there was, you know, the older crowd and some teenagers and stuff. So it was kind of all over the place.
Yeah. It's one of those things where I'm kind of dying to know what, like, there really isn't. There was really no hype for this movie. Like, the hype was non-existent in that, like, it was just like, it felt like the equivalent of going for a colonoscopy. Like, yeah, I have to do it. Like, I'm not excited about it, but I have to.
That's definitely how I felt, for sure.
But that's the thing. Like, it's weird to think, it reminds me of, like, Transformers 3. Like, it reminded me a lot of that, where it's just like, yeah, I have to go see it. Like, I saw the last one. And it feels like if they were to make a fourth one, then it's going to crater on them.
Okay, I could see that. I mean, definitely also because there's just nowhere to, like, where else do you go? I mean, I feel like they had a clear...
there's places.
Well, I mean, there's definitely places, but I mean, the thing is, like, the clear setup from the end of Dinosaur Boogaloo, the last one, seemed to, like, barely matter in this movie. Like the whole the dinosaurs, like we were saying, do not matter in this movie.
Well, I think but I think they're trying to transition the franchise away from that. I think they want the dinosaurs to be a backdrop. Because again, think about it. After Fallen Kingdom, really the only thing you can do with this franchise is Planet of the Apes.
Sure.
And it's like like we've seen that before, and the Planet of the Apes films were never successful.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the problem, is that like that was the conclusion from Fallen Kingdom, and I think they probably looked at that and they decided there was no profitability there.
Gotcha. Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, and like I was also, this whole plot of this movie kind of, was hit me out of left field. Like I totally did not expect it. It was very, I mean, it wasn't good. I wasn't like, oh, wow, this is different. I mean, I still have a lot of problems with this movie, which I know we'll get into. But it was kind of like so surprising to me. I thought we were going to have full on, like, what was that short that I think you said you saw, the battle at Camp Rock or whatever it is, that short, like 11-minute thing about dinosaurs in some national park or something like that, and people poaching them. Like, I thought we were going to get a bunch of that, and that's really only the very beginning of the movie, and then the little black market thing that doesn't really matter, in the Malta scene.
Well, that's the thing, is that the first like newsreel clip of this film, like in the beginning, I was peeing my pants laughing. And I'm like, yes, we're getting this. Like we have like a dinosaur eating garbage next to like railroad tracks. And I'm like, yes. I'm like, I want this, please. And you see all the stuff that's like, they have the little like CNBC poll, and it's like percentage of people, like how to handle dinosaurs, and the little percentage bar that says just kill them, gross.
Yep.
I'm like, yes. I'm like, this is Book of Hank level. I'm like, and then like the movie does not even go near that. Like the issue of these dinosaurs just being like a weird like tsetse fly problem on society is never really addressed after there again.
Yep, exactly.
Except for the last 30-second montage at the end.
Yeah, and that is one of the things that confused me the most, because movie starts and it's like, holy shit, humans and dinosaurs, or dinosaurs into like the human ecosystem and just like the Earth ecosystem with all the other animals. It's messing things up. Like nobody knows how to handle it. Like there's a whole new division of the CIA that's looking into this stuff. And like you said, this whole like opening exposition montage. And then a plague of locusts comes up. Whole movie's about, the end of the world and how B.D. Wong has to, save the world. And we have to stop Campbell Scott from, being a weirdo, I guess. And then the last 30 seconds is like, oh, they just work. The dinosaurs are living in harmony with the humans now. And I was like, how did that happen? Like, how did that occur? Like, what was going on in the background that we didn't get to see that solved a huge problem of the world that wasn't the locusts destroying like every crop in existence? And I was like, because clearly our main characters, whatever they did nothing to help the relationships between like the ecosystem and the dinosaurs. Mm-hmm. It was that last ending thing was so confusing to me. And I'm like, did Colin Trevorrow just say like, wouldn't it be cool if we had a big dinosaur fish like look at a whale? Like, wouldn't that be cool? Let's just throw that in there.
But this is the thing though. Like it feels like, again, we have to also look at his career going into this. This is him licking his wounds.
Oh, definitely.
Like think about it. He has Book of Henry. That basically, like, he becomes a laughing stock at that point.
Yep. And then he gets Rise of Skywalker.
He gets fired off a Star Wars film, which isn't really a unique proposition anymore. and so he has to go back to this. And I think he, again, obviously, because again, think about that first movie. That first movie makes such a hard point of wanting nothing to do with any of the films after part one. Mm-hmm. And yet all this film does is reference things when we get the Laura Dern, Sam Neill, and Jeff Goldblum.
Yep.
All it does is reference continuity from the latter two films of the franchise. And it's so strange that like Trevorrow, who's known for giving the middle finger to the establishment, is forced to go back to the well. Even like he even has his cute little jab too, where at some point someone turns around and goes, "Jurassic World sucks."
Yeah, Jeff Goldblum, he's like, "Jurassic World, not a fan,"
Exactly, and it's so like if you didn't, outside of a couple moments here and there, you'd swear this was like a Brett Ratner film. This feels like just like nobody made this movie. It felt like they just hired a second unit director to tell the actors where to stand, and then a bunch of executives over the course of like a month they said like, okay, we'll take turns like piecemeal editing it.
Yes, I completely agree, because the two things like structurally about this movie that not confused me, but like baffled me the most is that so many events happen because of pure coincidence. Like, why does the pilot join up with Claire in Malta?
Mm-hmm.
Well, she just happens to be walking by on the street when Claire is dangling from a balcony, you know? And so many things happen coincidentally. The woman in white, I don't know her name, she's a very strikingly strange-looking woman.
You mean Asian Lady Gaga?
I guess that's actually a really good way to put it, because in her first scene in the car, when it's real close up on her face talking to Campbell Scott, I'm like, is that Lady Gaga? So that's actually a great way to put it. But, like, how does she get caught? She just happens to walk into frame when, like, Chris Pratt and the other guy is there, you know? And I'm just like, so many things happen coincidentally. And then, two, on top of those coincidences occurring, everyone in this fucking movie seems to know who each other is. Like when like Alan Grant and Ellie Sattler are in like the biosyn trying to get the sample from the locust, Maisie pops out of like a door and they're like, "You're Maisie Lockhart. You were a big character in the last movie. We know everything about you." And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And even Jeff Goldblum is like, "Maisie Lockhart, good to meet you." And I'm like, how does everybody know? I know she was in the montage of the news thing at the start, but it's like they all know each other. And then the whole thing with Laura Dern being like, "I knew your mother." And it's like, you know, okay, it's just so forced in and piecemealed is the best way to put it. Like, everybody knows each other. Everything happens coincidentally. Like, things just happen off screen and time lapses, like, for no reason. Like, the whole thing with Bryce Dallas Howard, you know, has to eject from the plane when it's crashing because some dinosaur's taking it down. Like, really messed up that plane. And so she's in the woods. Plane crashes seemingly 8 miles away from her. Chris Pratt and the pilot, get out of that frozen lake scene. Boom. They're right near her because they have a tracker. And I'm like, they didn't encounter a single dinosaur getting from like 8 miles between those two things. Maisie's on the plane to go to Biosyn at the end of the Malta scene. Boom! Next scene, she's just there with BD Wong talking about her mother. And I'm like, did nothing happen in this time lapse? Like, what were our other characters doing? Like, is anything going on? And it's totally just like jammed together. It's like puzzle pieces that don't fit, and they're just like, come on, we can make this work. And it drove me crazy.
That's the thing. Like, there's so many. Like, I don't even know what movie they wanted to make. I don't even know, because the Chris Pratt, Bryce Dallas Howard stuff just feels like obligatory. Like, oh, we need to continue this story. And the Laura Dern, Sam Neill stuff was like, I didn't care about anything that happened in this movie. Like, even if you remove the cynical, jaded aspect I have to this franchise, but at least it's Sam Neill and Laura Dern. Like, at least there's that level of like, okay, we haven't seen these characters together in, since what's his name, William H. Macy and Tia Leone.
Yeah, yep.
It's like, at least it's fun to see them together, just as like actors intermingling.
I do agree with you there, and I do have to say, I love Sam Neill. I mean, he's not utilized the most in this movie, and I think there's a level of almost everybody being checked out in their performances from this movie, with one big one that I want to talk about. But I would say my favorite stuff was the Sam Neill and Laura Dern stuff, as ridiculous some of it is. But I do want to mention, probably my favorite scene in the movie is Sam Neill arguing with the coffee guy in the biosyn while him and Laura Dern and Jeff Goldblum are talking to each other. Like, Sam Neill's like, "I don't want a cappuccino," and the guy's like, "Don't raise your voice at me. I'm not raising my voice. I don't want a cappuccino," or something like that. And I'm like, this is fine, but it does seem like, you know, nobody directed that. That was literally like, you know, Sam Neill talking to craft services one day.
Well, they play him like a crazy person. Like, they play him like a hermit.
Yes.
And, like, it's the whole idea that, like, oh, Laura Dern, like, look at how much she's done since, like, the events of Jurassic Park 3. Like, she's just not a stay-at-home mom. She blah, 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 blah. And then you have, obviously, Jeff Goldblum, who just, like, is being Jeff Goldblum. They said to tweak his character's name a little bit. Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh, what's Sam Neill been up to? Well, he's still in the same dirt we left him in 1993.
Yes.
And it's like, it's cute. Like, it's honestly probably the least offensive aspect of the entire film, because they're playing into kind of just the quaint nature of it all. But it's like, those characters are at least having fun.
Sure.
Like, Chris Pratt, like, the whole time I looked at him, I'm like, what is he even doing here?
That's like, the performance. I have never seen Chris Pratt so checked out of a performance. Like, I know I've been on record, I don't even really like Chris Pratt in anything, you know, from his TV stuff in Parks and Rec to his transition into this like movie star type of thing. But man, he is dead behind the eyes for this entire movie, and it is distracting. I think completely distracting.
I think that's the thing. Bryce Dallas Howard does nothing in this movie. Chris Pratt does nothing in this movie. Little clone girl just kind of, once again, like in the previous film, sits in front of a monitor and watches TV.
Yes, that's right.
And then, but that's the thing that makes the Laura Dern, Sam Neill, and Jeff Goldblum stuff so refreshing, is that they actually are acting.
Sure.
They're acting. And it's like, it's weird to think that the bare minimum is considered exciting now when it comes to a dinosaurs $200 million film.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the only thing Chris Pratt does in this entire movie is force push dinosaurs. He just keeps putting his hand out, and every time it happens, I'm just like, why does this work? I get it, because in the first time he does it is when his raptor, Blue, shows up with the baby, and the like Blue's about to attack Maisie, and Chris Pratt's like put his hand out, and I'm like, okay, I remember that from the first two movies. That's how he,
a
like,
thing in this franchise.
Yeah, I'm like, that's how he trained that dinosaur. That's how when he built up, like he says, in all these movies, like the loyalty and respect between living things or whatever the fuck it is. It's like that's his motion. But then when he's like trying to chase the dude in the underground dinosaur black market scene, like two dinosaurs pop out of cages and he puts his hand out at them, and I'm like, those fucking dinosaurs don't know what that means. Like, that's not gonna do anything. They're gonna eat your hand, but it stops them. And I'm like, okay, so he's just force pushing dinosaurs at this point. Like, this is just a magic power people have, and it's like, if you put your hand at dinosaurs, it's gonna make them take pause. And I'm like, come on, that's the stupidest thing. They set up the whole, like, all these dinosaurs have this chip in their head that make them like do things with the shocks or the signals or whatever. Play on that. Don't just be like, hey, if a dinosaur sees a human hand, they're gonna be like, oh, better think about what's gonna happen.
I'm glad you bring up the idea of chips in the dinosaurs' heads, because that is a legit plot point in this movie.
And only comes up twice, when it's introduced and when they're used to get them all back to the arena. Which has no dramatic payoff,
not right? At all.
Yeah, exactly. I thought it was going to be something where, instead of, when Campbell Scott, like, is losing his mind at the end of the movie, I thought it'd be like, let me use all these, like, chips in their head to make all the dinosaurs go crazy or something. But instead, it's just like, no, they're all coming back so they don't burn in the forest fire that I caused. And it's just like, that's it? That's all we're doing with this idea? And, or maybe, our main characters could have gotten some type of, like, way to control dinosaurs by controlling the chips in their head. I don't know. You could have done so many other things, and they were just like, no, we're going to mention it at the, 30-minute mark, and it'll come back at the 2-hour mark, and that's it.
But the weird thing is that it's like, even that sequence where, like, we have the control room, which is very it's like a smaller scale version of Jurassic World.
Sure.
Like, it's like a room of like 2 rows of computers relative to that one in Jurassic World where we have the BD-VD combo.
Yep.
And it's like a giant, just like, oh God, like 2,000 square foot room.
Yeah, it's like mission control for NASA.
Yeah,
or something.
Like it's so weird, because like you have lady technician that's telling not Tim Cook that, like, oh, government policy states that if this happens, we have to bring them into containment. And he's just like, we don't technically have to. And she's like, literally, we technically do.
Yeah.
And he's like, and he starts like throwing a hissy fit, and he's like, just do it. It's like, you're creating locusts to wipe out the wheat supply. This is the line that you have on decency and following protocol.
Right.
It's like, why now? Like, you have all the genetic information for these dinosaurs. Let them die. You have a never-ending supply of them. Like what happens if you murder a bunch of dinosaurs? Like, even how the film begins with Bryce Dallas Howard, that their genetic makeup is so commonly available that, like, a meth house in Kansas has the ability to clone dinosaurs now.
Yeah.
There is no awe to any of this anymore. Like, that is and I wonder if that's Trevorrow's, like, implicit, like, theme of the film, is that there is literally no excitement to dinosaurs anymore, to the point where giant bugs are more interesting than dinosaurs are now.
I could definitely see that. And I mean, I'll give that to the movie. The giant bugs are way more interesting than the dinosaurs, just because.
Shit, when we get to snacks for this film, I know I'm just teeing up.
Yeah, right. The giant bugs are like very, like I said, it came out of nowhere. I didn't expect it. When like that whole scene in the field when the kids are like hiding in the barn, just screaming, like the one girl is holding a shovel, not using it to hit anything, and just screaming. And we see these giant locusts. I'm like, oh wow, this is actually visually intriguing. Versus the whole thing of it's just like the earlier in the movie, the scene where Maisie crosses the bridge and leaves her little winter hideout cabin or whatever, and she just sees like the two giant dinosaurs in the logging company and being led away. And I'm like, okay, they're doing the majesty thing again of the oh man, aren't these creatures so like crazy to see? And just the bugs are way more interesting.
Even the moment when we see oh god, Campbell Scott lights the bugs on fire and they somehow break out of the containment chamber, which is funny as hell.
And just somehow,
yeah, somehow, and we have a swarm of flaming bugs, and that somehow incapacitates numerous vehicles.
Yep,
a flaming bug, and you just sit there and it's like. That's the sort of Trevorrow schlock that I miss. The idea of a bunch of flaming bugs just incapacitating everything.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That was also very interesting. I mean, knowing like when fire was raining down, in the last movie it was because a volcano was going off, if I remember correctly, and this time it was bugs. Some of them are dying and falling, some of them are still kind of just smoldering and flying around, and it's that goofiness, but I'm still kind of fine with it. I mean, isn't there ever in one scene like a dinosaur pops out of the like terrain, out of the forestry or something, and like eats a burning bug or something like that?
Yep. Like that's the sort of stuff that I wish we got more of. Like exactly, I want that level of schlock. Instead, we got oh god, vacuous Trevorrow, which is something I like. Even Safety Not Guaranteed to see this checked out. I have no idea. Somebody who co-wrote and directed this film, he either was told to really reel it in, or he was just so checked out that he wants nothing to do with this anymore.
Yeah. I really don't know. I mean, I of course we're not in the headspace of the madman himself, but I could definitely see maybe like some combination of being checked out and trying to appease studio executives so he doesn't stay in director's jail for the rest of his life after Book of Hank type of thing.
It has to be that, because it's just I don't know, because he did not make there's a certain level of if you look at Jurassic World and just his writing style, and that he really hates the norms and the pillars of what is considered what we have to do. We can't ignore that he co-wrote the second movie.
Yeah.
And yet there's none of that here. This does not even feel like this. Even Jurassic Park 3 had dinosaurs in it. It feels like I honestly cannot imagine any studio executive looking at this outside of the fact they wanted to keep the budget down and wanting to be happy with it. This feels like the dinosaurs being cut out of it were just okay, we can at least save some cost somehow. And even the dinosaur stuff, all the dinosaur fights, quote unquote, could be very, very easily excised from the film. Do we really need a moment of the same T-Rex from the 93 film eating the carcass of a deer only to get shooed away by a bigger dinosaur, and then at the very end have the T-Rex fight the villain dinosaur, and then they team up with Freddy Krueger dinosaur?
Yes. And wasn't the new dinosaur
so misplaced?
I mean, I totally agree. It's played as this climactic moment, the end of the saga of this T-Rex type of thing, of these giant carnivores, because apparently that's what is the most interest for people who do enjoy dinosaurs, which I don't. I guess that means that's the most interesting ones. Of course T-Rex is most famous, I'd say, but wasn't one of the dinosaurs in this movie supposed to be the Joker? Wasn't that the news article for a while that Colin Trevorrow was I want to make the new dinosaur like the Joker dinosaur? Didn't we talk about that months ago?
Well, the thing about it is the joke we were making for months, when all the toys leaked, was that there was a dinosaur called the Gigantosaurus, and it became once again the Indoor Raptor. This is why we don't want the toy people named characters in the film. But they don't even call it that. It's called the Gigasaurus. And I'm clearly the prefix on that can't be ignored.
Yes.
It can't be ignored. And the fact that both Jeff Goldblum and Sam Neill are this is the largest, two or three times in the film they explicitly say, and I quote, the largest carnosaur to ever walk the earth, end quote.
Yes.
And I'm
yes.
like, if we're ignoring continuity, like, or I'm sorry, that we're no longer ignoring continuity, wasn't the Spinosaurus from the third film, which is called that solely because it has a giant spine on its back? Like, wasn't that like the movie where the it kills the T-Rex like in the first 5 minutes of like the fight, just to show that this is the biggest dinosaur ever.
Yeah.
So I don't know, because like I know in some of the spoilery stuff that I was reading that like, oh, the Spinosaurus came back in both it and the T-Rex fight off the Gigantosaurus. And it's like, no, it's the T-Rex that's somehow still alive nearly 40 years later fighting the Gigantosaurus that's not even established. We just see it in one shot earlier, and then it shows up at the end.
Yeah,
and it's not even it doesn't even try to kill our heroes. It seems to be rather apathetic to humans.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I didn't understand it. And I do have to say on that name of this new, bigger dinosaur, because they always have to go bigger, of course. There's a few times in the movie where someone said it, and I could have swore they called it the Giga Dinosaurus. And I was like chuckling to myself in the thing. I'm like, did Chris Pratt just say Giga Dinosaurus? But it's like on Wikipedia it's like Giganotosaurus or something like that. And so, but I don't know. I mean, all these dinosaur names just like wash over me. And then I don't even know if I'm sure they're all real, because people in the real world keep finding these fossils and piecing it together, these puzzles, and go, this is a different dinosaur now, you know? And everybody knows my stance on dinosaurs. Of course, we had to get there. But when the one that attacks the plane, the pilot's like, it's Quetzalcoatl, the ancient Mesopotamian god. And I'm like, go fuck yourself. I'm like, go fuck yourself, movie. Just call it a pterodactyl. Everybody will know what that is.
You are right. That dinosaur just fucks that plane up. The dinosaur's just like...
I think there's even a shot of it, like, it blows out an engine, and, you know, it's like watching the plane go down in Lost, and like, Bryce Dallas Howard is, like, looking out the side, just watching a giant burning engine.
I like the fact that, like, okay, going back to their moment in the plane, like, Chris Pratt and Black Lady Chris Pratt...
Yeah,
like,
I don't remember her name in the movie.
She's not a character. She's Black Lady Chris Pratt, and like it's the same character. Because at one point we even see them kind of unsheath their knives the exact same way while in the identical stance. So like we can only assume that they maybe that Chris Pratt's a clone of this lady. We can only assume that. And so, like, there's a point where Chris Pratt's like, Bryce Dallas Howard, you have the only parachute. You must, at this level, do this. If you do not deploy it at 10,000 feet, it will deploy by itself.
Yep.
And then it's like the plane's getting messed up. She deploys. And then, like, the not pterodactyls, like, just keep coming after her. And it's like these animals would have no idea what's happening right now if there was a lady parachuting down. And yet they specifically target the parachute, perforate it.
Yep.
So she has to deploy the secondary chute. And then while all this is happening, we have Chris Pratt and Black Lady Chris Pratt crash land into a frozen lake only for them to just immediately walk out of the plane.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, if you can survive a plane crash that easily, why did you have to let Bryce Dallas Howard go?
Right? Yeah, 100%.
We have Black Chris Pratt lady and
Wikipedia says her name is Kayla Watts, and I kind of think that was said once in the movie. Maybe.
Is that the actress's name? Like, I will say that's the actress's name.
No, the actress's name is DeWanda Wise.
DeWanda Wise. I would rather name this character by the actress.
That's fair.
Because it's not a character. There's nothing to this.
No, not at all. Even her thing at the end when she's like, she says something, it's like, why'd you help us? And it's like, well, because I didn't help earlier. And it's like, really? That's all the motivation you're going to give her? That's like, I didn't do the right thing once, so I'm doing the right thing now, you know? On the topic of that character, I thought, okay, so I don't know if you noticed this, Zach, but I really thought that in the scene after Malta, when Chris Pratt, Bryce Dallas Howard, and her are all on the plane together, and they're flying, I think it's like right before they get to Biosyn or something like that, there's a shot of the pilot with her hands on the wheel, the whatever it's called for, you know, piloting, the controls, I guess, you know, or maybe everybody knows what I mean, the thing you put your hands on to fly the plane, and on like the center is a picture. There's a picture. You can see the picture, but it's not like zoomed in or anything, and it's really quick. But I noticed it was a picture, and at that point in the movie, I'm like, they are going to spin the lore that she is either the daughter or like granddaughter of Samuel L. Jackson from the first movie, and that's why she's involved with dinosaurs. I was like, I swear they were going to do that, but it's never brought up. And instead, she's this vacuous non-character type of thing. I would have much preferred if it was like my grandfather or uncle or whatever you want to, I don't know my timeline. Or how long it's been, but it's just, I totally thought they were going to be like, yeah, like my relative died in the first Jurassic Park. He was one of the safety technicians or something, or whatever Samuel L. Jackson was in that first movie. And that's why I'm involved in this stuff. And, and I feel like, we can do better with dinosaurs, but I got corrupted along the way. And instead, she's just like, no, I'm just a pilot for hire that saw a little girl look sad once, and I could have said something. And it's like, what could you have done in that moment when Maisie was getting, like, sold to Biosyn? Like, were you gonna, like, kill all those guards? Were you gonna, like, take out all these other pilots that needed their money? Like, come on. Like, totally underdeveloped.
But this is the question, though, about, like, all of that, is that why do we need to kidnap Maisie and Chris Pratt and the dinosaur's love child other than the fact that the script tells us to? Like, B.D. Wong's things like, oh, we need to kidnap this child because she has the blood in her to, like, oh, if we inject her blood into a giant bug, it will kill all the other bugs. And it's like, okay.
Yeah.
And it's like, but Biosyn clearly doesn't want that. So, like, why is Biosyn kidnapping her other than just to say, oh, we collected? Like, we are amassing a collection of every antiquity to the dinosaur legacy of the last 30 years.
Yeah, that was definitely not made clear. Like, I got B.D. Wong's motivation because he's like, okay, there's literally 2 living creatures on planet Earth right now that were born, like, asexually, One is this baby dinosaur that had no, like, testing done on it, and Maisie, who had testing done on it. So if I can study those and compare them, I can see what's different and find, like, the thing that Charlotte Lockwood did to this kid. And I'm like, I get his motivation. You are right. I have no fucking idea why Campbell Scott wants Maisie. Because there's even a point where Campbell Scott's like, do you think Maisie could be the answer? And Henry Wu, B.D. Wong's character, is like, she absolutely is the answer. And I'm like, to the thing that Campbell Scott doesn't want to fix. Like, there's no line that explains what B.D. Wong is lying to Campbell Scott about. Like, we need Maisie because then we'll be able to make money on our pharmaceuticals or something. Like, that never happens, and it's so confusing.
Well, even the whole thing with B.D. Wong, like, B.D. Wong in the first film is like the mad scientist. In the second film, he's the mad scientist that's like, you are underselling these dinosaurs. Yes. I can buy a house. a very bad house for these prices.
Yeah, why is it going to cost more to buy the crane to pick up the cages we are putting these dinosaurs in?
Exactly. And then by the third film, he is like the definition of like a homeless man who's like, even though I created these locusts that are evil, I need to destroy them now. It's like, wait, you're having a change of heart because why? And why are you
going to end the
bugs?
world? I mean, it came across to me as they're trying to do like, this is his redemption arc in this movie, or his redemption arc for the entire franchise, all 6 movies, even though he's only in 1, 4, 5, and 6, And it's like, yeah, but you flesh that out a little bit better, especially when you have someone like B.D. Wong, like, do something with him, utilize him, because he's very good at acting and portraying these things. But instead, he just kind of is like, I'm here to dump exposition, and then I'm here to be like the package, like the escort mission at the end. They have to make sure they get him out without him getting hurt because he can't defend himself. And it's like, nobody can fucking defend themselves against these things.
Well, that's the thing. Like, he's not trying to redeem himself for the acts of the past. He's redeeming himself for something he did at the very end. It's like murdering like 3 or 4 like cities of people, and being like, that last family was the straw that broke the camel's back. And it's like, well, you mean like this is something that made you realize everything you've done your entire career is wrong? Nope, just the last family.
Exactly. Like you're exactly right. They should have fleshed that out a lot more. Like, he should have had a thing where it was like, because even when he pops up at the end out of nowhere, when like the whole Biosyn like place is going to hell, Jeff Goldblum is like, oh no, not him. Like, it's always him. Like, he's bad. Like, you should have even had a little line in there where B.D. Wong could have said something like, They could have thrown it back to the first movie when, BD Wong is like, well, we're scientists, we're going to do whatever we want, and Jeff Goldblum says, you thought so hard about if you could that you didn't think about if you should. They should have said something like that. Like, BD Wong should have been like, I should have listened to you, 40 years ago or whatever it was. But nope, they're just like, I just got to study these things and save the world, and that's the point of this movie, fuck all these dinosaurs, I just got to save the world from these locusts.
But this is the thing, okay, going back real quick, like you mentioned with Jeff Goldblum, is that he, like, we talked about it, and I think on our Jurassic, I have to lose track, Rob. We've talked about more of these movies than we should have. It feels like it's up there with, like, right? Hack Snyder level nonsense, like, all the directors that we still have not covered, and yet somehow we've talked about how many dinosaur movies on this podcast?
God, I think 4 now. I know we did Jurassic. Did we do Jurassic World on here?
Yeah.
And we did it on
We did Jurassic World. Yeah. We did Dinosaur Boogaloo.
We did 3.
We did Jurassic Park 3 for the 4th year. Oh, God. But, like, it goes back to things like this film is clearly acknowledging continuity. And it's like, are we going to acknowledge the fact that, like Jeff Goldblum wanted nothing to do with these dinosaurs by the second movie?
Right.
And yet somehow at the end, because remember, he's at the he bookends Fallen Kingdom, Dinosaur Boogaloo, and, like, yet somehow he goes from warning the world about, like, the perils of dinosaurs to, like, yeah, I'm going to get in bed with these people.
Yep.
And then there's the weird thing, too, of, like, oh, he's a mole. And yet, no, he's not. It's the guy who, like,
right?
recruited him as the mole. Yeah. And Jeff Goldblum's just there because he's Jeff Goldblum. It's like, why not just get rid of that other character? What's his name? Ramsey, I think?
Yeah.
And it's like, why not just take that character and merge it with Jeff Goldblum's character? And yet I also love the idea. I couldn't help but chuckle. This feels like Trevorrow nonsense. And that, like, we have this thing about everything about these dinosaurs for the last 30 plus years is about like genetics, reading DNA. And yet every single lock in this building can be unlocked by an Apple Watch.
Right.
It's like you have, like, everything is bioengineered. Why wouldn't you have the locks? Like, we live in a world now where having your eye scanned or your fingerprint read has been technology that's been at Disneyland for 25, 30 years. Yet somehow in dinosaur futurism land, no, we need little, like, QR scanners, and I'm sorry, RF scanners. And I'm just like, this is like, nobody cares. Like, it's blatantly obvious nobody involved with this movie cares.
Exactly. And it's baffling. It's absolutely baffling.
But, like, this is the thing I want to ask. This is where it gets more into the philosophical.
Okay.
Is that how do you go from, in 2015, Jurassic World making $1.6 billion to 7 years later where nobody involved cares? How do you just become so indifferent?
Yeah, I really don't know. I mean, I think this should have been, like you're right. Even you said before about the marketing on this was so, kind of like lackluster. I didn't even see that much for it. I saw more marketing for the Jurassic Experience, which was like a walk around, like, animatronic exhibit down in Denver, than I did for this movie. And they should have been playing this as, like, the, end game of the dinosaur franchise, that we're bringing everybody back. There's going to be, a big conclusion to, like, how is the world going to live with dinosaurs finally? And it seems like it just got, like, we're missing a movie. Like, this whole thing about Locust should have been part 7 of this franchise.
It doesn't, like, this is the thing, though, is that, like, I honestly, when I say this, I'm not being hyperbolic. I think if you would have sat there, done a focus group, and you take a bunch of 10-year-olds and put them in the room with some dinosaur toys from the franchise, and you watch, it's kind of the equivalent of if you put enough monkeys in front of typewriters, you'll get Shakespeare. I think if you just do that, you would have gotten a better film. Like, sure, of course, you have to refine it, and you got to put dialogue to it.
Sure.
But I honestly think if you would have emptied out a toy box of all these characters and all the corresponding dinosaurs, you could have gotten a more interesting film. Like, think about it. We have a dinosaur movie where the dinosaurs aren't even the main plot. Like, how on earth, when you market, like, research, focus group test this, that nobody just says, it's like the equivalent of the Wendy's commercial, where's the beef? Where are the dinosaurs? Like, at one point, we literally just have dinosaurs, like Chris Pratt's riding a motorcycle in Malta, and dinosaurs are in the courtyard. And I'm just like, how'd they get there? It's a very narrow city with streets. How did dinosaurs get to the middle of, like, it's the equivalent of Venice. Imagine if you just have some random dinosaurs in the middle of Venice just swimming in the water. Like, it's like, they had to get there somehow. They didn't just tread water. Like, there's just so much where I'm just like,
Yeah.
did something happen?
And they
'Cause
also
even
got there from underground, you know? They were all
Yes.
kept in this big underground... God, the only thing I could think of in the Malta black market scene was the black market scene from Pacific Rim from all those years ago,
God.
right?
Ron Perlman's there just selling the skull of a kaiju.
Yeah, exactly. I expected that for sure.
That's I think my biggest thing about this movie is that I'm not kidding when I say that throughout most of the 2 hour and 20-minute runtime of this film, I was like bored to tears. Like my eyes literally started tearing up, and I had to like get a tissue and just be like, "Will this please just can something happen?"
Mm-hmm.
Like I was so bored. Like I walked into this movie very similarly to how I did like Fallen Kingdom. And that like, oh God, like I'm dreading this. Like I'm seeing this as some misplaced sense of obligation. And like as I'm watching it, I'm just like, and especially toward the end, I'd say when we have the T-Rex and Freddy Krueger dinosaur versus the Gigantosaurus, I kept having flashbacks to that quote final battle of Jurassic World where you have the T-Rex against Jason Voorhees dinosaur.
Yep.
And I'm just like, I can't believe this. Like I finally reached a point with this franchise where I'm looking back at Jurassic World fondly. Like I hate Jurassic World, but I was never bored through it. Like there's always something happening, even if it's for the worse. And it's like, I'm like, I've reached a point where I'm longing for that.
Yeah, no,
like,
I'm not.
There's something
totally
to be said about feeling something, even if it's anger versus just numbness.
Yeah, I have to agree. I was also very bored throughout this movie, and I knew the runtime going into it that it was 2 hours 20, and with credits, it's going to be a little less. And I definitely did not stay for the credits. But I was just like, oh my God, like what is? It takes so long. There's so much going on, and then because it's like they had to. I feel like they just had to, not had to, but they felt maybe they had to hit all these beats of like, okay, we got the legacy characters are back together in one storyline. The other storyline is like our new characters are all together, but then they all get split up, and then they kind of blend, and Maisie ends up with the legacy characters, and then they finally all get reunited, and there's still like fucking 8 hours left in the movie, and then and I'm just like, oh my God, and it was very much a drag.
It's the thing that kept me going is that every 20 to 25 minutes you get Laura Dern and Sam Neill doing something.
Sure.
And that kept me going because it's just fun to see them together again, just interacting. And the whole time I'm just like it was one of those things where I'm like, Sam Neill, just like give Laura Dern what she wanted in Jurassic Park. I don't care if she's in menopause. Give her a baby. Like give Laura Dern a baby. That's all she wanted from you was a baby. Give her a baby. Like take Chris Pratt and the dinosaur's love child and just hand it to her. She wants a baby from you. And that's all I wanted. Because like Rob, I have to ask that like one of my favorite Robisms of all time is your breakdown of the Jurassic Park franchise, where the first film is about
have a family, have children.
Second film is about having children.
Yep.
The fourth film is about having children. The fifth film is about having clone children.
Yes.
The third film is about
that raptors can talk, which is a big part of this movie for sure.
But Rob, I have to ask now, after 4 years of anticipation, what is the point of this movie? That locusts can catch on fire?
Well,
giant bugs can be incinerated?
Well, I think that's a big part of it, and that is important. That some locusts are resistant to fire, and also some locusts, even though they've already been burnt to a crisp and are dead, when a server room reboots, it reboots the locusts as well. That was a very confusing scene to me, that Laura Dern and Bryce Dallas Howard are like creeping over the dead. They're dead. They're smoldering. They're not moving at all. And then they turn off the power to the server room and they're like, oh no, it's rebooting. And then boom, all these things just come back to life magically. And I'm like, what? You walking around them were they asleep? Like, what was the implication there? But no, I'm glad you asked this, because as I was watching the movie, it's so long and there's so much going on. I was definitely like, is this going to be about, you have to have children? And I think it's not about that. I think that after the 4 movies in the franchise that beat that into your head, that the point of living is to reproduce. That is the point of all those 4 movies. Except that, it has it in the third one, but the third one's more about how raptors can speak to each other, as we said. They finally did something a little different, and they said, once you have that child, once you have reproduced, the only thing that matters is protecting that child. That's what I think this movie's about.
Is that what it is? So we went from the importance of what 80% of these films is have children to protect children.
Maybe the better way to put it is, now that they've beaten into our heads, this franchise has beaten into our heads that you have to reproduce. Once you have accomplished your singular goal in life, because this franchise also says you can have no other purpose in life other than to reproduce. Once you've reproduced, your main goal becomes make sure your child survives so they can reproduce. That's what I think this gets at, because so much of this movie is, oh my God, we have to protect Maisie. Like, that's the only motivation that Bryce Dallas Howard and Chris Pratt have. We have to protect Maisie. We have to protect our child. And there's a whole thing with, like, you're not my real mom at the beginning and stuff like that. And then, you know, even you get the stuff with Chris Pratt saving baby dinosaur and stuff like that. And the whole thing is just like, even with B.D. Wong, they're like, well, he has to save the world, because if the world ends, then nobody can reproduce. And that's the whole point of life. And, you know, so that's what I think. It's like, we have to make sure Maisie can grow up and have her own clone baby one day, because that's the only reason she's alive.
I have to ask, considering so many aspects of this franchise that are just kind of disposed of. Oh man, here comes the plane. There's a pterodactyl attacking the plane right now, Rob. Can you hear it?
Quetzalcoatl's on us. We need a sacrifice
from ancient Mesopotamia. But considering that the Jurassic Park franchise is known for discarding elements that it doesn't want to acknowledge, why couldn't we just do away with this Maisie character? Why is this character important? Like, they make it, because remember, the big mystery from the second film was, oh, they cloned a little girl from dinosaur DNA. And it's like, okay, like, that's an interesting question.
Yep.
And then immediately in this, it's like, oh, no. She didn't use dinosaur DNA. Her mother cloned her because plot.
B.D. Wong says she used her own, Maisie says something like, my grandpa, I think James Cromwell from the last movie was James Cromwell tried to clone Babe, but that didn't work, so he cloned me out of my, to look like my mother. And B.D. Wong says something like, no, your mother, cloned you with her own DNA. And I'm like, isn't that like some weird, clone incest type of thing? But I'm like, I guess that doesn't work that way.
It's very peculiar.
Yes, but no, you are absolutely right that the existence of Maisie in this movie is solely but by what the opening sequence of news exposition dump tells us, is that just like, she's a clone child and somebody's after her for some reason. And then the reason that B.D. Wong wants to get his hands on her is solely because of the manufactured plague locust thing that is only existent in this movie. So you're right. It's totally just like, okay, I guess we need to keep her around now type of thing. I would have been much more interested by a storyline where everybody's looking for Maisie, not because she's a clone, but because she committed the war crime of releasing dinosaurs onto the world. Like, dinosaurs were not into the world. They were all going to get gassed and killed at the end of the last movie, right? And she was like, well, I guess they're just out in the world now. Like, she should be facing, this should be a, crime drama of her facing trial for the last hour and be like, is this illegal? Like, should she face, repercussions for causing this damage to the ecosystem?
Well, that's again, I don't know what this movie wants to be about.
Exactly.
It's that notion of it's known that Laura Dern and Maisie's mom were in contact with each other, and that Maisie's mom only died maybe 10 to 13 years before the events of the film.
Yeah, I think they say 13. Yeah.
Yeah, but wouldn't all of her research be available?
Yeah, that made no sense. They were just like, B.D. Wong is like, she did this, she cured your genetic disease, but she apparently kept no record of the most groundbreaking scientific discovery since the ability to create dinosaurs.
Yeah, and that's a thing where it's you would think that, all this would happen. I genuinely don't know. It comes to the point where and this is another question I have, is I think we talked about it about a year ago when Fast and Furious 79 released. Okay. That there was an extended preview because it was another Universal film. Yeah. Where there was a sequence at a drive-in theater with a T-Rex gets in the middle of it and just starts going slasher movie on everybody. And there's nothing like that in this movie.
Yep.
And that was the marketing a year ago. So it begs the question, did they reshoot any of this? Which is becoming like the perpetual question with blockbuster filmmaking now. Is that like, was there an earlier incarnation of this film that didn't test well? So what they did was they decided to remake a third of it.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to guess that that's the case. Maybe I don't really know why. Like that seems
because the opening montage has nothing in common with the rest of the film.
Exactly. I think the only other time we see dinosaurs attacking people is when they have to call the guy from the second movie who's working at the CIA now, and he sits down at a computer, and like a little window pops up, and there's just like some tiny pterodactyls picking at a woman's hair like seagulls attack someone with French fries on the beach.
Exactly. And that's the thing. Like, the movie begins with, again, like, almost every character from the franchise comes back for like a brief moment, except for Tia Leone and William H. Macy.
Yep.
And it makes you wonder because like we get the dumb characters from Fallen Kingdom. Like we even get the dinosaur veterinarian.
Yeah.
Who's a real dino veterinarian now. And even they've become disenchanted to like all this. They're like, what are we doing?
Mm-hmm.
They're like, why are we rescuing Triceratops from meth like labs in like Kansas? And Bryce Dallas Howard's like, it matters. They're like, yeah, it matters, but like this is the slowest way to do it.
Right.
And then the guy from Detective Pikachu is like, I'm going to join the CIA and start doing this, which is never explained. He's just like, oh, it's an 8 to 5 job, which I doubt any CIA job is 8 to 5. But it's like, and then like the veterinarian lady, like that was what the Hillary Clinton to what's his name, Leland Steinmeier's Trump.
Oh,
like
sure.
She completely disappears from the film. Like she gets her 30-second like opening like appearance and then that's it.
Yep.
And it's like you said, there's an entire like weird like, oh God, micro subplot of like, oh, the CIA is watching all this. And it's like, are we gonna have like the dinosaur equivalent of the Men in Black soon? like,
right.
like there's just so many questions where it's like true like I this honestly feels like it could be a springboard for a million different things.
Exactly. Yeah. And
like even the posters state like this is supposed to be the epic conclusion to the Jurassic saga, and it's like not really.
Yeah. The main plot of this movie is that they save the world from locusts that only exist in this movie. Like, it's like take out the epic conclusion. Just seems to be the big dinosaur fight at the end that, you know, our main characters don't even see the conclusion of. They get away in the helicopter before the T-Rex wakes back up, and
exactly.
I'm like, what does this matter? Like, I definitely don't care about seeing dinosaurs fight, and I especially don't care. You know, I care even less if our main characters aren't even involved in it at this point. Absolutely
like, but it's funny. This movie to me was most interesting for what it didn't have. Like one thing that I'm kind of shocked that we haven't gotten in any of these movies is like considering that Jurassic World makes such a big part of its campaign back in the day of Chris Pratt riding the motorcycle with the dinosaurs. Like that was like you couldn't. I think that was a poster at one point.
Yeah,
and so it's like, why haven't we not had Chris Pratt ride the dinosaurs?
Exactly.
Like how cool? Like I said, like, to the point where like they know they're not making high art with this film, with these films. Why couldn't we have, considering that Chris Pratt is still weirdly our protagonist for all this, even though he's not really, is like, why couldn't we have him during the final battle riding the T-Rex? Like, why couldn't we have the equivalent of Captain America picking up Thor's hammer, and we have Chris Pratt riding the like being like, oh man, like the Freddy Krueger dinosaur is about to get it, and it's like, oh no, like we have a bigger gun, and we sit there have T-Rex riding the dinosaur. Like, wouldn't that, like at this point, like is that really any crazier than having a bunch of giant locusts eating corn?
No,
like,
and it also seems like the most low-hanging fruit, because if you finally show that in a movie, if you showed, let's say, just that thing of Chris Pratt getting on the back of the T-Rex for however long it is, you know, if it's during the fight, if it's just to do, you know, something, maybe it's to, you know, get the chip out of the T-Rex's head or something like that, you know, maybe use that a little bit more. If they just showed that for however long, it would make so many of these little kids who love dinosaurs, they got to see their fantasy on screen, because there's no way you're telling me these kids who have a T-Rex action figure and a Chris Pratt action figure don't make them ride each other. You know what I mean. But they're riding each other. But it's like such low hanging fruit.
I will say I did not appreciate the film lying to us when it said that Blue's baby dinosaur was asexual. We all know that's Chris Pratt's child.
Yes, I mean,
like he loves that dinosaur. The movie brings it up to like he fucked the dinosaur. That's kind of disgusting.
Yeah,
I don't want my kids to be
sex tape on a monitor in the last movie. Like I thought
exactly. He's grooming the dinosaur. That's not cool, man. I don't want to see dinosaurs doing that, like getting done that to them. That's not cool.
Yeah. But I mean, you're right. It's absolutely low-hanging fruit, and it would be but I don't know. I mean, and even like older people, like I made the thing with kids. Like kids would be like, oh, I've done that with my toys all the time, and they'd be ecstatic. All the kids that are into dinosaurs. Even the adults would be like, that's just ridiculous, but it's fun ridiculous, Mm-hmm. At least it's something that's not just, our main character's just huddled around, and then they're between the two dinosaurs, and they're like, this isn't about us, we have to run, and then they basically just get on the helicopter and leave.
Exactly, but like I have to wonder what sort of lessons they learned from Dinosaur Boogaloo, because it feels like, because we again, one of the reasons why you and I don't like, oh God, I don't want to say appreciate Dinosaur Boogaloo, but we have some fondness of it, is because of just how goofy it is.
Absolutely. It's bonkers. It's hilarious in how crazy it is.
And I think they stepped away from that. I think the lesson they learned from that, even if it wasn't the main reason why, was that people want these dinosaur movies to be very sober.
Sure.
And I think, but like you also have moments in this where Asian Lady Gaga has the same mechanism from the indoor. Remember the indoor raptor special power was that like if you shine like a flashlight onto something, it would attack it.
Oh yeah.
And the dinosaurs in this do that as well. And it's like, and there's numerous points in this where Asian Lady Gaga shines her like little red laser pen dot on things, and the dinosaurs aren't even looking. I'm like, does it count?
Yeah.
Like, do they just know? And I'm just like, none of this makes sense. It's like what is happening right now? And it's like who is Asian Lady Gaga? Where did 4 trained raptors in a crate come from?
Yeah,
and I'm like, maybe these are the ones from the first Jurassic World. Like, nope, they all got blown up. At one point, we see a dinosaur get blown up with a bazooka, which is still one of the funniest things ever. And it's like, oh, wait, so people are learning from what Chris Pratt did back in the day? And it's like, I guess, like the film just establishes that like there's a black market. We get the Star Wars Cantina equivalent of this, where we have a bazaar of dinosaurs. And yet somehow there's a ladies' room in the bazaar, as if it's like a thing in Disney World.
That is really ridiculous, isn't it? Like, and the setup for that scene when Bryce Dallas Howard meets DeWanda Wise is just Bryce Dallas Howard is washing her hands.
Exactly. It feels like a scene from like oh good Lord, a Julia Roberts comedy,
right? It's like I know we're looking for Maisie right now, but I just gotta wash my hands. This place is kind of icky.
But like, it's the idea. Why would a black market for dinosaurs have restrooms?
Exactly.
That's not how black market anything works. It's not Disney World, and yet like I don't know. Like none of it makes sense. It's all just baffling, and like, but not even good baffling. Whereas like, I can still remember like I said, I've only seen Dinosaur Boogaloo I think twice, maybe 3 times, and like there's all these moments from like where the indoor raptor is like at the end of the film like on top of like the building, and it's like howling at the moon. And the soundtrack, it's really intense for really no reason, and there's all these moments. And yet, like, there's no moment like the indoor raptor winking into the lens when Leland Stonemeyer's trying to pull its teeth out. There is not even one moment in that, like, similar to that. And I'm just like even Jurassic World had its goofy moments.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like this didn't feel like a Trevorrow film. Like, say what you will, like as much as I dislike him, he at least has its moments of levity.
Yes.
And there's none of that in this movie, other than maybe where we have Campbell Scott, not Tim Cook, like just like going, like he starts just growling for no reason.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, what is up with Campbell Scott's performance in this movie? I thought it was going to be like some reveal at the end, because when we first get introduced to him, well, other than that little commercial he does for Biosyn at the beginning, when we meet him in person, like when Alan Grant and Ellie Sadler get to the Biosyn arena or whatever the hell it's called, compound, and he meets them there. He's acting like a total weirdo. He's saying every other word. He's pausing. He's like talking to Ramsey and saying weird things to him. There's even a point where he's like, "Well, I gotta go. Well, do you have anything to eat? Like one of my bars? Never mind." And it's like, and even our characters like note that they're like, "What was that?" And then the next scene we see him in, he's like fighting with BD Wong about the locusts and about pushing forward and stuff like that. And he's totally composed. He's not saying he's not acting weird. He's acting more like a villain. And I'm like, okay, so, something's going to happen there, right? That, he's acting one way for these people, but he's really this maniacal, mad scientist behind the scenes. But then that dynamic just goes away, and then in all the scenes where, he's yelling at his control room workers and stuff, he's just as goofy and awkward again. And then his whole death scene is so unsatisfying, where he literally looks at a dinosaur who is hissing at him and says, "What's your story?" And I'm like, what the fuck does that mean?
Like, that's the thing. Like, it's not goofy. It's inexplicable.
Exactly.
And that's the thing.
Unsatisfying.
Well, yes, that amongst many other things. But I think the thing is that, like, they want another corporate bad guy that people can, like, look at. Like, think about it. Like ever since, the Zack Snyder Batman v Superman Dawn of 9/11,
yep,
we had Jesse Eisenberg, Mark Zuckerberg.
Yes.
And I think the problem is that, like, in the 2020s now, like, we've kind of played Mark Zuckerberg being a supervillain into the ground. So it's like, who else is there? Like, who is that corporate entity that's a supervillain now? And I guess it's Tim Cook of Apple.
Yeah.
Because even, like, the Jurassic, whatever you want to call it, Biosyn compound is very similar to the Apple thing of, like, it being, like, the giant ring.
Sure.
And so, like, I can only assume that whether it be Jurassic World 7 or whatever, that the next, corporate villain's going to be Elon Musk, and it's going to be somebody threatening to do a hostile takeover of something that everybody loves. Like clearly that's the next evolution in all this when it comes to Hollywood, like, evil business figures.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's so weird to look at this and clearly this is what they're going after. Like, it's that tech conglomerate CEO.
Yeah.
And it's just, all of it's inexplicable. And then the one thing is going back to Campbell Scott, is the Barbasol can coming back.
Okay, I wanted to ask you, what is that from? I could not remember watching the movie.
That's OG Jurassic Park with Wayne Newton.
Okay.
Remember he has the Barbasol can with the DNA, and it's the same dinosaur that incapacitates him, the one that spits, like, the goo on his face.
That's right. It's coming
and
back.
It falls
to me now.
down the little, like, mini waterfall. And I'm just like, why is that coming back? Why do we and it's clearly the same one, because it's like it's on a shelf.
Yeah.
It's like, you're telling me in 30 years you don't have any better technology than to store this stuff? I would imagine all the information you would need could be fit on a micro SD drive now.
Right, yeah.
It's like you could literally put it, probably, I would imagine, on something that could fit under your fingernail, never mind a physical Barbasol can that's been hollowed out.
Yeah.
I just, like, outside of it being an Easter egg, serves no purpose.
Exactly. Yeah, I did not. I was in the movie. I'm like, okay, I know this is from some of the other movies, but I literally could not remember where it was. But now that you reminded me, it came back. But
they also, again, do the thing where, like, it falls out on the little, like, what do you want to call it, subway car?
Yeah.
And it rolls out. And it's like, clearly they want this to be a thing, even if it's not touched upon until 10 movies from now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. Oh, God, Campbell Scott is so weird in this movie. But you're right, the Tim Cook thing, I definitely got that. I mean, that's just kind of like the theme of these villains. They're always like the corporate entities, I guess, other than the dinosaurs. Because who's, like, the villain in the third one, technically, I guess, would be the dinosaurs. The Spinosaurus or whatever it was.
Isn't the villain in the third one Sam Neill's partner because he steals the raptor eggs?
Yeah, I guess, so that, him... the dinosaurs and the partner. Yeah, I forgot about the partner. In the second one, I guess it's the poachers. Like,
it's Maurice Fisher. Yeah, Maurice Fisher is the villain.
And then and the first one, I guess it's I guess people's hubris or scientists' hubris. But yeah, I mean, that's what they're going for. These corporate overlords. Speaking of that, I am shocked that they did not name this big bad new company that Campbell Scott is heading up. It's called BioSyn in the movie. I am shocked they did not call it BioSyngen as just a reference to InGen from the first movie.
I don't know. I think they thought they were clever calling it Biosyn as an evil. Like it,
Sure.
again, it reminds me of that SpongeBob gag. Every villain is lemons.
Yeah.
Like I'm so clearly Biosyn is there. Like I'm surprised they didn't just do it SIN.
Yeah.
Like just like really
Right.
smack the audience over the head with it. But I don't know. Like there's so many things in this movie that they're trying to call back to, and yet at the same time they're trying to do it very. It feels like a movie that nobody wanted to have fun. Like I feel like the studio note that the Madman got was we got to tone it down. The other movie was too goofy. Tone it down. Tone it down.
Totally believe that. Speaking of callbacks, I wanted to mention this. In the scene when the guy from the second movie, who the CIA agent guy now, he's at lunch with he's like, first the introduction to them meeting is that Claire calls him and he's like, you're kind of a big person of interest around here, so I don't think we should be talking to each other. And she's like, we're outside. Cut to them in public at lunch, and I'm like, okay,
Yep,
I guess anybody can fucking take a picture of him now, and no one that doesn't matter. And when he's talking about how like they're doing the whole whatever plot exposition they need to go through about the deal in Malta, the CIA guy says like, oh, we have a guy on the inside, he's someone you've worked with, and he says something like, a lot of the people that were there at the original Jurassic World, they've like gone undercover for us, and you see him flip through his little tablet, and one of the people that he flips through is Lauren Lufkus from the first movie. And I just want to know so bad how much she got paid for that just image of her being in this movie. I really want that information.
That and Jake Johnson.
Yep, absolutely.
That's the Crispin Glover precedent, isn't it, from Back to the Future 2?
Exactly.
That like you can't just simply use someone's likeness without their permission.
100%. I noticed that, and I was like, okay, they're just jamming everything in here, you know?
But why? Like, why would you like? Who would feel compelled to have them? Like, was anybody that walked out of Fallen, whatever Order, Kingdom, whatever it's called, really saying where was Lauren Lufkus and Jake Johnson? Like, was anybody being like, you know what, that's what this movie needed more of? Like, that's the 9 out of 10. That was that 10% spot that it needed to fill.
Yeah, and they're only really memorable from that one scene where Jake Johnson asks her out, and she's like, no, you know, and it's like,
I have a boyfriend.
Yeah, and nobody's thinking about that at the end of the second one. So speaking of that, I mean, we've kind of mentioned it a few times here or there, like the lack of levity in this movie. It is very boring, like we said. It is very, straight and narrow, but it's not without, and I want to phrase this correctly, it's not without its intended comedic moments, you know? I don't believe that my audience laughed at a single intended joke in the entirety of this movie. What was your audience reactions? Like, did even the Jeff Goldblum, like, oh, Jurassic World, not a fan? I think maybe someone might have went and like, huh, in response to that in my theater. What was your audience's reaction like to those like intended moments of like those one-liners type of thing? I
recorded the audio for this, hoping there'd be those moments.
Yeah, I did too, and it kind of sucks that there's no good response moments, but I have a pretty good clarity audio copy of this movie now.
Yeah.
Not that that's worth a damn thing.
Yeah. My audience was very subdued. Like,
okay,
I mean, like, this was, like, it reminded me a little bit of the Matrix of Resurrections, in that, like, it was, again, half to at least 2/3 full theater, and nobody responded to anything.
Yeah, okay, that's what I got, yeah.
I don't know if I'll be able to get the audio in for the recording. I'll try my best, but audience, forgive me. The best part of the movie, because as we walked out, Rachel asked, like, oh, what was the best part of the movie for you? And this is what happened at the end. At the end, like, once, I don't even remember how the movie ends. Like I don't know, Chris Pratt gives another head nod to the dinosaurs. They run away.
A big fish dinosaur kisses a whale. That happens.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Oh, and a little girl feeds a tiny dinosaur out of her hand on the Washington Mall. We see that happen.
Because of course we do. But at the end, obviously, when the movie ends and and the score starts, like people started applauding, and I'm like, I started like audibly saying, "Don't clap for this." It's like, please don't clap. And then the moment the clapping subsided, I guess somebody brought some liquor into the movie theater, so you hear a bunch of bottles just clanging together.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
And like the sound, like the Foley like timing of it all was perfect because you hear a bunch of people clapping. As the clapping like subsides, you hear just clang, clang, clang.
That's good.
Clearly implying that you had to be intoxicated to enjoy this film at any level.
I'm actually glad you reminded me of the clapping because at the end of this movie when credits started to roll, very scattered clapping. Seemed like one group was clapping. Very reminiscent of the time I saw Solo in theaters, and one person when Darth Maul showed up went, "Woo!" It was like that. That the movie ended and you just heard like maybe two people just like, "Oh, okay, no, we're not doing that." That type of thing.
Yeah, like definition of subdued. Like nobody cares.
I think the biggest response my audience gave to anything in the movie was maybe like another group of people. It was very close to an audible groan. I mean, it was audible, but it wasn't like a full groan. Like it wasn't like one of us going like oh that type of thing. It was more of like a sigh almost when Jeff Goldblum and our other main characters are leaving his conference, and Sam Neill says, like, have you two been in touch? And Laura Dern says, he slid into my DMs. Someone in my theater went, oh. And I'm like, yeah, I 100% feel that. It came across as so weird, not only for the tone of this movie, but to hear Laura Dern say that. It's like, Laura Dern, you're better than this.
But this is something that's so weird though, is that like that's such an icky moment.
Absolutely. Yep.
Like when you were writing this, the screenwriter, why would you want to put that in there? Like, is that there so the kids think you're cool? It's like, no, Lord, it's the Amy Poehler Mean Girls thing of like, no, I'm not a boring mom. I'm a hip, cool mom.
Yeah.
It's like Laura Jones, like, just because I have kids that are in college, I still sit there. It's like, ugh, like it comes across as icky.
Absolutely, yeah. And I don't know why I can't. It seems to leave that in, and whatever thought you might have, like maybe it'll come across as a laugh scene. Maybe they're thinking it comes across as like oh no, we're hip, we're young, this movie's still for the kids, even though we got these old characters back. It's so misguided. In any positive way you can think about that as a screenwriter, it just comes across as so misguided.
Like, it does. And again, misguided being probably the best word to describe all of this, is that, like, again, it goes back to the Sam Neill, Laura Dern, and Jeff Goldblum. Like, part of me looks at this and I'm like, there's probably at least one good Jurassic Park movie, relatively speaking to the rest of the franchise. Sure. You gotta add that qualifier in there, that involves just the three of them going on a dinosaur adventure. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And like Rob knows, like there's so many people on the internet beating the drum. They're so frustrated with the fact that we never got a contemporary Star Wars film with Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, and Carrie Fisher. And I look at that and I'm like, this is probably the best case scenario if you got all three actors in the same room together, like on screen.
Sure.
Like, this feels like a waste of those three actors as these characters in the same film. Because, like, you can you've blown your cultural wad of saying, oh, you're reuniting the main three.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's like,
so
this would have been such a better movie if you had Laura Dern being the person who reunites the team, and the film ends with, we need Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard's help. Like, this would have been so much, like, again, relatively speaking to the rest of the franchise, if they would have treated this film as not a quasi reboot, but just been like, oh, now that dinosaurs are in the wild, this is now blipping on Laura Dern and Friends' radar.
Yeah.
And they now, like, and that's the thing, like, this would have been a great opportunity for that. It's that Pirates of the Caribbean 2 thing where, like, what's his name? Jeffrey Rush walks down the stairs and he's like, now what have you done with my ship? If he bites into the apple and, like, cue credits. Mm-hmm. And it's like, it would have been great. Like, you, like, set this up as like, oh, we're going somewhere bigger. Like, it would have been a great way to take that, like, oh God, falling energy of the third film in a trilogy and trying to spin it into something to get excited about.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. Like it feels like such like a wet fart of a movie.
Absolutely.
Like it's just there. Like it's the worst. Oh God, like as much as we laugh at like the third films in like any sort of trilogy, this feels like just the most anticlimactic example because it just ends. It just ends. There's not even a conclusion to this story. Like you said, it ends with a whale and a dinosaur kissing underwater. And it's like, okay, like, so they all lived happily ever after? Like, is it just going to be a continued thing now? Like I said, is it going to be the CIA trying to wrangle this, like, is a thing?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we should also mention that it also ends with one of the ending things in that, one of the things in that whole ending sequence is Laura Dern and Sam Neill going to, like, testify against Biosyn, but, like, Biosyn's defunct? Like, Campbell Scott's dead, like...
Who are you testifying against?
Exactly. And I'm like, I guess, you know, maybe like the government want to understand what happened, but I think they say something like, you know, we're testifying and it's like this needs to be done, but Biosyn is like no longer in existence at that point in the movie, and dinosaurs seem to be happy. I think even before that they say like the Biosyn compound, which was nearly destroyed, is now like the dinosaur sanctuary for the world, and it's like. Okay, so like, who are you suing, or who is going to like get government action put against them? Did they not know Campbell Scott's dead, and they're going to be like, the ruling of this court is that Campbell Scott can no longer create dinosaurs if he is alive, and it's like, what is the point of this?
Well, again, it's funny. At the end of this, I was also saying that, like, considering this is another Universal franchise, like, just put Vin Diesel in here and have, like, Ludacris and, like, all those other characters. Like, I don't know who else is in these movies now. The ghost of Paul Walker.
Yep.
It's like, just have them in this. Be like, have Chris Pratt be like, I need a team. And it's like, the only thing bigger than dinosaurs is family.
And that would fit the motif of this movie so well.
Exactly. Like, that's the thing where, like, just, like, do the Sony thing where they ran out of ideas and they're like, we're going to make Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum like Men in Black.
Yes.
Like, we're just going to sit there and be like, you know what? We've ran out of ideas. We're going to blatantly admit that that's what's happened. Like, that's, like, just do the thing that's fun. Like, hire a good screenwriter that's good at comedy, lock Vin Diesel in the closet when they're sitting there writing the script, and just like let it be. Like I just don't know. Like, it's like, how do you make a boring movie about dinosaurs? Like, is that even possible?
I mean, you're right. I mean, the other movies have not been boring. I mean, God, it's been so long since I saw the second one, the Lost World. But I mean, they're not boring. I have my issues with them. I think they're bad. I think they're, you know, their messages are offensive to the human race. But yeah, you're right. This is the first one where I'm just like, oh my God, like, get on with it type of thing.
And it really made me wonder that, like I get it. This is a franchise and it needs money, but this is not how you go about doing it. Like, absolutely. I cannot imagine being excited for another one of these movies after this. But like, the weird thing too is that this got like an A- cinema score.
Oh God,
which is a good rating.
Yeah.
So but like, this is also the weird thing about the contemporary like movie landscape, where like you have Top Gun Maverick, that's probably going to be, if not the highest grossing movie of the year, the very least the summer. Mm-hmm. Like, that movie's on track to make like $500 million in the US, solely because it's just so ho-hum. And it's weird to think of it that way. Like, we are at a point now where people just want movies to be not even just safe. They want them to be like vanilla. They just want them just to be the bare minimum. And audiences seem to be like going toward that. And I just, like, it's weird to think that as dumb as Doctor Strange 2 was, at least it has Doctor Strange like possessing his corpse to fight the villain. Which Rob and I have not talked about Doctor Strange 2 at all, so this might be a novel notion I'm presenting to the conversation.
Yes, yeah, I know barely any. Oh, I know certain things about Doctor Strange 2, but instead of going to see Doctor Strange 2, everybody, I went and saw Cronenberg's Crimes of the Future, which was wonderful.
I have to say, Rob's like, instead of seeing Doctor Strange 2, I decided to go to bed at 8 p.m. one night, and I got a good restful sleep. Rob's like, I sat home, drank some tea, and went to bed.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
These movies, man. Like that's the thing. Like I really like. I think I've said it numerous times. It's the Batman v Superman conundrum of like as bad as that movie is, as nonsensical and bonkers, it's never boring.
Yeah. At least it's
It's
not
annoying.
down the middle.
It's frustrating. Yeah. It's at least something. Like you remember it. Like for better or worse, you remember just the nonsense of it all. And yet, this is the same guy. Before we started recording, I told Rob I was running a few minutes late. I was showing Rachel the Book of Hank.
Oh, okay.
And if you honestly watching these films over the course of back to back, you wouldn't know it's the same person.
Yeah, 100%.
Think about it. Colin Trevorrow made a movie where Sarah Silverman as Amy Winehouse kisses an underage child on the lips. And that is probably the least offensive thing in that movie.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, man. Yeah,
I don't know. The Madman's frustrating. Like, the Madman, I don't know. Did they neuter him? Like, did they really, is he in, like we said, is he in director's jail right now?
I think he was after Book of Hank, for sure. Does he have anything on the books? Do we know? I remember seeing there's things on his Letterboxd that he's directing that are, I don't know if they're like short films or something he's tied to. But do you know? Does he have any projects or anything lined up?
He has 2 upcoming projects. Something called War Magician, which I have no idea what that is. And the other thing is Atlantis. It just says Atlantis.
Not even the Lost Empire?
No, not even the Lost Empire. Yeah, a War Magician. There's something. How again? We all know IMDb being the bastion of truth.
Of course.
There's an image? It says War Magician. How Jasper Maskelyne and his magic game altered the course of World War II. So I'm guessing it's some form of historical fiction.
Okay. I mean,
so I don't know. I really I can't imagine him penning an original idea. No, and anyone in Hollywood's gonna sit there and do this.
Yeah, exactly. But
unless it's Universal giving him like a pat on the back if this makes $1 billion plus.
Yeah, you're right. If this does well enough, and they're just gonna be like, okay, you get your clout to do one more for us type of thing.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of with all this. There really is nothing else, because even looking at the writing credits for this, we do have to there is maybe one culprit as to why this is so bland, in that it's the co-screenwriter Emily Carmichael, who as of a couple days ago might have been my favorite person on the internet due to how she dressed to the world premiere of Dinosaur 6.
Yep.
Rob, can you please describe the outfit she was wearing to the premiere? Because at this point, if I look at that image one more time, it's gonna be me staring into the sun.
I have to pull it up to remember it again, but from the time I saw it when you sent it to me, yellow comes to mind, right?
There's a reason why I said sun.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so it's it's like beachwear, It's like she's wearing what seems to be like a one-piece bikini with a yellow trench coat over it.
Yes.
And she has...
It's very flamboyant, to put it mildly.
Yellow... They're not really Converse, but they're yellow sneakers. Oh, they have little platforms on them. Look at that. But it's all yellow. And it's very strange. It's absolutely one of the weirdest things I've seen in a while. Standing next to Colin Trevorrow, who's in just a complete black suit.
That's again, the 2 horsemen of the Dino-apocalypse.
yes, exactly.
And she's also the co-screenwriter of a Pacific Rim Uprising.
Oh, okay.
Mm.
I never saw that one.
Okay, so I did some research on Colin Trevorrow's Atlantis.
Okay.
The title of the article is Colin Trevorrow on his upcoming Atlantis film, quote, "It's the only thing that equals dinosaurs for me."
Oh, God.
Oh my God! Just give that man a pen and paper. That's all I ask. Don't let him near a camera. Just give him a pen and paper.
Sure. Oh, geez.
Fresh off finishing post-production on Jurassic World 6, Trevorrow was preparing to take audiences on another prehistoric sci-fi adventure in the form of Atlantis. Trevorrow will direct a script penned from Dante Harper, Alien Covenant. Okay, that's promising.
Oh, right.
Based on a story by writer Matt Charbin from Bridge of Spies. Quote, for a generation right now to be able to enter a world that is not unlike their world, where their elders have basically gifted them a civilization that is dying, I think it's the right moment for that story.
Oh yeah, it's definitely what people want to see. A reflection of the problems in our own lives. Oh yeah, absolutely. Okay, yep.
Rob,
Makes
it's either that
sense.
or giant locusts eating the corn crops. Pick your poison.
Right.
Here's another one. I like it. I like how all these articles about his career are phrased the same. This is from Deadline. Colin Trevorrow to direct Benedict Cumberbatch in Studio Canal's War Magician. Quote, fresh from wrapping Jurassic World Dominion, Colin Trevorrow is set to direct War Magician, a Studio Canal drama that will star Umberto Cabbage Patch and E. Nicholas Mariani, based on the book by David Fisher. The pick is based on the wild story of Jasper Maskelyne, a British illusionist who used magic to defeat Erwin Rommel in World War II. Trevorrow's take features an international magic gang from Africa, Europe, and the Middle East who conspired with Maskelyne and a female military intelligence officer to defeat the Nazis.
Interesting. Okay.
So, Rob, which would you rather see, a Colin Trevorrow magic World War II movie, or see Colin Trevorrow talk about a doomed fictional society?
I gotta go with the magic in World War II. That seems more up what I want from Colin Trevorrow.
want anything that involves Colin Trevorrow and Nazis. I'm like, there's potential for offensiveness.
Right, for offensiveness. I want Colin Trevorrow to go into it being like, this is gonna be my Inglourious Bastards, and just see how hard he can fall flat on his face.
He's like, there'll be an illusion where somebody shines a right laser pointer at a Nazi and they get attacked by dinosaurs.
Yes, exactly.
The tricks work twice. It has to work a third time. Oh my God. Don't let him near anything. Don't let him near any more movies. I really don't have anything else to say about this movie other than just it's the worst case scenario for a movie. It made me feel nothing.
Yeah. I don't think I have anything else up to say about it. I did want to ask you this. I know this is going to be biased because the people saying this are not in the same mindset as you are, but of course, I've made no stranger that I'm on Letterboxd, and of course, after I watched this movie, I gave it the you better guessed it, half a star, because I think I've given every dinosaur movie half a star. Maybe, I don't know what I gave 3. I'd have to look that up. But, of course, when I looked at the other reviews, I think when I checked last night after I saw it, this was sitting around like a low 2, which is bad for Letterboxd, And, because the Letterboxd average gets skewed by the people who give it 5 stars and then say, like, worst thing ever, and then stuff like that. But a very common review, like the phrase I kept seeing in there over and over and over as I was scrolling through reviews was, quote, this is the rise of Skywalker of the Jurassic Park franchise. Now, like I said, I think the people writing this are not in the same mindset as you, being the Star Wars aficionado and fanatic that you are, but I don't fully understand what that take means, and nobody seemed to expand on it.
Oh, yes, it does. It's meant to be unsatisfactory conclusion to a trilogy.
Is that it? Because that's what I thought.
Yes,
I thought I might be missing more, but that's it? Okay.
Yeah, because if you've seen, like, again, 100%. Like, to say, like, it's very, you have to be in, like, oh, God, movie niche, like, circles to get that. But yeah, like when Spider-Man No Way Home came out in December, the big meme was like the thing from The Simpsons where like it's 2 random background characters, but it's the father smacking the kid in the back of the head, and he's like, "That's how you do it."
Oh yeah,
and the father is No Way Home, and the kid is The Rise of Skywalker. Yeah, to say something Rise of Skywalker, it means to be completely just out of left field, unsatisfying finale to a trilogy.
Okay, gotcha.
To a story.
Yep. Yeah, I was too bogged down in the Colin Trevorrow of both of these movies I thought there was something else going on. I was hoping there was something else going on.
Well, I will say that like there is some clickbait article out there where Trevorrow's being asked on the red carpet about like, oh, how does it feel that people liked your script better than the actual film itself? And he's again, it's weird because the co-producer on these films is Frank Marshall, Kathleen Kennedy's husband.
Yep.
So the reason why he got the Star Wars gig was because of Frank Marshall. So no, he's like, no, look, I'm very thankful the time I spent on those like working on that film for like over a year. Like I don't regret a moment of it. It was like, even though I'm disappointed that my vision didn't come to reality, I ultimately respect the process and the collaborators I got to work with. No, he's like, it feels like this film is his like mea culpa, being like, no, I'm not insane. Like I'm not bonkers. Like I can be a team player. That this feels like his rebound to show that like it's Gooble Gobble one of us.
I would agree.
That's what the point of this movie is showing that like, no, I'm not an outsider. I'm one of you. And I think, like I said, I think his cuteness with the Jurassic World first film, where like you have Jake Johnson sitting there wearing the T-shirt and him being like, "Yeah, this is what mattered, not this new crap." I think that is I think again, 7 years later, Trevorrow has learned he's no longer that person. Like, or even if he is, he can't be that publicly anymore.
Sure. Yep, I'm with you. And the only thing. I get why he would do that, for a career move, but I would have loved to see, I think we both would have loved to see a much goofier, more fun movie, a more engaging movie. And if they had let Trevorrow off the leash, I hope that, someone at some point in this movie would have said the line, "I lost the Jurassic Park."
Oh dear, still a top 10 line right there that we never got to see.
Yeah.
Domhnall Gleeson saying that. Rob, how does it make you feel that your favorite pieces of Star Wars dialogue are both said by the Domhnall Gleeson character in Star Wars?
At least there's something positive I can say about Domhnall Gleeson.
Mm.
But yeah, I think that was that letterbox stuff was the last one I wanted to pick your brain on, because you see it so much. And I will say, if anybody, I was really tempted. My review for my Letterboxd half a star rating I was really tempted to be, come on, what else did you think I was going to give it? But I ended up reviewing it as dinosaurs never existed. So I hope someone out there who doesn't know me, just is scrolling through the reviews and sees that I gave it half a star and thinks that I gave it half a star because I'm adamant that dinosaurs are not real.
Never existed.
But yeah, that was the last thing I had.
The last point I want to bring up is just looking at like what dummies in the audience think of this, because on Rotten Tomatoes it has a 78% fan score at the time of recording.
Okay.
Yet the Bastion of Truth IMDb has it at 6 out of 10. And I think it's probably going to hover at probably in the high 5s, low 6s on IMDb. Rotten Tomatoes is such a dumpster fire. There's really no objective way to gauge that anymore. I don't know. Like, this feels like this feels like, oh God, The Secrets of Dumbledore. I'm trying to think of another third film, like oh God, like a Hunger Games Part 3.
Sure.
This feels like the film that is like the quiet death knell in the franchise.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I could see that.
Like that. This feels like this feels like Jurassic Park 3, like all over again in 2001, where like it's gonna make money, but they're going to need to sit there and figure out a way to revitalize this. Like, they're going to have to, like, oh, God, Robert Pattinson Batman this. Like, this, like, as a way, like, yeah, like the last one, like, yeah, The Dark Knight Rises made money, but, like, people aren't happy. So we have to figure out a way to sit there, reinvent this, even if it takes a few years.
I do want to mention, I pulled up Letterboxd again. I think it's, like, a little higher than yesterday. It's at a 2.6. A lot of people are giving it 2.5 and 3s. But a review I did not see yesterday that I have to mention from user Karsten, 1 star. This is the review. At one point, a kid in front of me got so bored he started doing a headstand in his seat, which would normally be annoying, but in this case was the most entertaining part of the movie.
Fair. I'll take that. That was interesting. That would be entertaining to me.
Right. Yeah. Oh, and there's a great comment on that review. User Miles says, "That was me, actually. Sorry about that." Yeah. It's
oh boy.
Upsetting. I mean, I wanted another Fallen Kingdom. We got something that I'm going to forget immediately.
I just want, like, the problems that Trevorrow has done. So I think about it, like we never talked about safety not guaranteed, but Jurassic World is such a unique presence in the filmscape, in that it's a blockbuster that hates its own existence.
Yes.
Yet makes no bones about profiting off of its success. Fallen Kingdom Order is like, oh, let's do something different. Like, I'm Colin Trevorrow. I'm going to sit there like, people think of dinosaur movies as this like vast, massive scope thing, but nope, I'm going to have the second half of the movie take place in a mansion.
Yeah.
And then the third movie is just him being like, I guess I have to play this safe. Like, everything I thumb my nose out for the last 10 years, I have to now play into.
Yeah.
And that's what's so like, not that, again, I'm not rooting for him. Like, the best thing that could happen is that he just like goes into hiding, like a certain other Cinemati's director that we hold in high.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, best case scenario is he goes into hiding and we never see him again for another ever. But I don't know, like, the fact that like he's gonna make movies, like, I don't want him to become a Brett Ratner. Like, we don't need any more Brett Ratners.
Yep, I'm with you.
Alrighty, Rob. With that being said, are we ready for questions?
Yeah, I think so. I think I gotta rack my brain for snacks, but for the questions, I think Cinemodities and Late Night. I'm gonna say the same for both, and it's a no. I think Cinemodities, the entire reason I say no is because of everything we've discussed in this, and probably this whole discussion also led me to no for Late Night. Like, there is no real reason to show this to people, to watch this with people. I mean, there's no real reason to, like, get on board with this in any way, shape, or form, I think. So I'm going no to both. What do you think?
Okay, this is one where I'm gonna mirror your sentiment. I'm gonna say no. I know at some point I will rewatch it again, being like, it's a Trevorrow movie.
Sure.
There has to be some perverse, redeemable aspect to this.
Oh, someone gets lit on fire in the black market escape scene. We didn't talk about that. That's kind of, like, interesting.
Oh yeah,
and he doesn't get lit on fire because he gets, like, knocked over by, like, a dinosaur. Well, I don't remember, but he falls into a fire and then he, like, doesn't know stop, drop, and roll.
Yeah, I will say that I am going to say no to both, but I do think the Asian Lady Gaga, there are some really inexplicable moments with her.
Sure.
And the fact that she disappears just halfway through the film, like, she shows up for roughly 15 minutes and we never see her again. And she's made out to be she's supposed to be a prominent character, how the movie makes her out to be. Like, I don't know, like, I feel like at some point you and I independently will go back and watch this for whatever reason. And we will be like, well, it's not Fallen Kingdom or Book of Henry, but it has its moments of just, like, inexplicable nonsense.
Okay, we'll have to see. Yeah.
Like I said, no, I still think it's a no, but I do think we will we will revisit it at some point, whether it be 5 years, a decade from now, and we will be like, it's still Colin Trevorrow nonsense, just not to the highest levels it could be.
I see what you're saying. Yep. Time will tell.
Indeed. Alrighty, Rob, snacks. I'm just gonna take the reins right now.
Do it.
I want flambéed crickets,
right?
Or whatever you want to call these. I just want to light them on. I want as many of these things as possible, and I want to light them on fire. Like, that should be an experience. Like same way like as Rob knows from his Inexperiority Complex music video where Rob, like, bought, like, a bunch of crickets for, like, 50 cents.
Cockroaches, but yes.
Okay, close enough. And so I want to buy a bunch of these and, like, get a flamethrower as an experience in the restaurant, and just light them on fire.
That sounds good. And once we can kill them, or apparently fire just puts them to sleep, as we said. And then maybe we can also do something that I know I've brought up before as snacks. This is also related to these crickets, locust things. I know I've talked before about the bugs that I've eaten, and one of them is the chocolate-covered cricket. And I know I don't remember where this came up, but, I tried one once. It's not really my favorite thing, and I've never really had the opportunity to try one again. But I think if you go to, like, zoos and stuff, they sell them there. Probably at, like, weird museums and stuff. They're definitely around. Hell, you could probably order them on Amazon. What am I talking about? Going to a zoo, But you can DoorDash them from the Bronx Zoo. You can DoorDash. Why is my local zoo on DoorDash? But so my thought was, just like how when you go to, like, those novelty candy shops, when you have, like, the let's use the example that we've talked about in the past, Zach. When you have the regular size Rice Krispie treats, but then you have the giant Rice Krispie treat. Also, I'm thinking of when you have, like, the regular size Hershey's Kiss and you get the 10-pound Hershey's Kiss. I think that we should have, because I'm sure chocolate-covered crickets are in the restaurant already, we should have the locust-size version of that.
Oh,
and so
okay.
We're going to have one of these locusts just covered in chocolate, and just that, I mean, it's a dessert for the whole table right there. That would take so much chocolate.
Oh, well, that's okay. But this is the thing, though, Rob. This is where my part 2 of my snack comes in.
Okay.
Is that, like, as we know, we can genetically alter any of this.
Yes.
So I have a question. Can we alter the DNA of, like, not just the crickets, but anything? Like, just use the crickets as the example here. Like, there is a great, like, McCormick seasoning that I use. Mm-hmm. It's like tomato, basil, and something pepper. And I absolutely love it when I sit there and cook chicken. I want to sit there like, oh god, bioengineer these things to come predisposed, like like living. Like how is a giant locust? Is it born? Like is it
I
like
really don't
birth?
know. I really don't know. But everything you're explaining to me sounds like Tamako from The Simpsons right now.
Yes. Perfect. You figured out a verb to describe it. I want to Tamako these locusts with certain seasonings from McCormick. So when we roast them, we can immediately think about it. Instead of having to pay a cook to prepare it, we have it as an experience, and then you can just eat it. It's like fondue almost. Like, think about it. You go to all these fondue places. You don't have to pay a cook to make it. All you're doing is paying a busboy to dice some bread.
Yeah.
It's perfect. And that's all I want to do. I want to Tamako these giant locusts. Because like the whole time I was watching this, I'm like, I ain't by no means like eating bugs. And the whole time I'm watching this, like, I just want to eat one of these on a stick.
Yeah, I'm totally into that. That sounds perfect. Pre-genetically disposed or pre-genetically, engineered. I'd say creatures. We could do this with a bunch of stuff we already have in the restaurant. Just you're bored like. It's like Maisie, you were cloned from your mother's DNA and allspice, that type of thing.
Well, it kind of reminds me of, like, I remember as a kid, my mother explained to me they made hot dogs with cheese in them. I'm like,
sure.
How does that work?
Yeah.
And now it's like, this is how you do it.
Yeah, right. I'm into it. Another one that I had was, I'm pretty sure we had this already, which this is why I want to get it out of the way. I'm sure we had it from one of the other millions of times we talked about these dinosaur movies. I would love to eat dinosaur meat, because we see it in the black market scene. We see some dinosaur meat being spit roasted, and I would just love to, be able to sell that. And I would eat it as well. I would, if somebody, took DNA from these the ceramic things we keep finding in the ground all over the world. If DNA was somehow in there, then we could create a creature and then eat it. That's my MO, We create creatures to eat them.
What did dinosaur thing like taste like? Okay, Rob, perpetuating the hoax of dinosaurs existing.
Yes.
Like the whole thing is that like obviously chickens are the contemporary evolution of all this. So like would dinosaurs just be like giant chickens?
That's what I would think, but we'd have to branch out and be like, we not just want only the meat, like let's eat the brains, the eyes, the organs, that type of stuff. The feet, like chicken's feet, eat dinosaur feet and stuff like that. Like, use every part of the buffalo here.
Okay, gotcha. We gotta be practical.
Yes. I think I'll keep thinking, but the only other one I had in mind right off the bat was we sell on the menu. So like on the menu item, it would be one of Campbell Scott's bars, but what's his name in the movie? Dr. Lewis Dodgson's bars. But since we have no idea what that is, because everybody in the movie, Ramsey included, which seems to be his right-hand man, has no idea what he's talking about in this moment, then we have that on the menu, and if somebody ends up ordering it, the wait staff kind of leans into the customer and kind of, shiftily looks around and whispers, "Do you know what that is?" Like, we'll serve it to you, but you need to tell us what it is.
So it's the definition of like a mystery item.
Exactly. And it's almost a mystery item. And maybe the customer will be like, I don't know, is it like a granola bar? Like, because the customer is going to be taken aback. They're going to assume that the restaurant knows what the menu item is. And the customer is going to be like, I don't know, I guess it's just like a granola bar. And the waitstaff's going to be like, okay. And you're going to get like a wrapped Nature Valley granola bar to your table type of thing.
Like, it's the lowest, it's not even Nature Valley, it's the store brand.
It's like the Great Value, the Walmart.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, yeah,
No, Rob, it's even a step below that. It's the Aldi's version.
Okay, perfect.
It's like, what the hell is this? It's like, it's whatever you want it to be.
Yeah. Concentrate or a fig bar with no relation to Newton type of thing, whatever the off brands are called.
Oh dear. All right, Rob. Do you have anything else about this dumb movie?
No, I don't think so. I think that was it. Do you have any other snacks or anything like that?
Nah, man. This is a dry movie.
Absolutely.
This is kind of like, I can't think of this conversation in the movie reminds me a lot of Lust in the Dust. It's like it has all, like, on paper it has everything we could possibly want. Paul Bartel, Divine,
Geely's mother, Lainey Kazan.
Exactly. Like the idea of like a Western movie by Paul Bartel. Then we watch it, we're just like, it's kind of just vanilla. Like it's one of those things where it's like, it's not just disappointment's bad. The problem is that the higher it goes, the anticipation. And it's like, oh, geez. Like, think about it. Trevorrow hasn't made a movie since 2017
Yep.
with the Book of
Yep.
Hank. Like, think about it. This is his follow-up to the Book of Hank, one of the most incredible films, the true foundation of cinemati's.
Yep, absolutely.
And this is his follow-up. Like, this is very disheartening.
Yeah, it really is. It's a bummer. It's a bummer. So, with all that, ending on that sad note, and we should say maybe not end on a sad note, a happy note. There is no foreseeable dinosaur movies in the future, and I am quite content with that.
I don't know, Rob. Like, think about it. This movie probably would have come out in 2021 if it weren't for the events of the last couple of years.
Sure.
Like, what do you think the earliest reboot date for this is?
Ooh.
Like, it has to be what, 2025?
I was going to say 2026, but I think we're close enough there that that's just.
Well,
this
is my thing though, is that they have to get a movie in theaters for the 25th anniversary of the first film.
Oh, I didn't. Think
and that would be 2028.
Yeah.
So
man.
no, not 20. No, it'd be what no. Oh, that's weird. I'm sorry, I'm losing my mind right now. That's weird. There's gonna be nothing for the 30th anniversary.
30th. That's right. Yeah.
That's weird. They're not gonna have anything for the 30th anniversary of the films. I don't know. They passed the 25th anniversary without doing anything. I guess Dinosaur Boogaloo was the 25th anniversary.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's weird. 30. Okay, I guess my mistake. I don't know why I'm losing my mind. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I guess the second question is, when's the earliest they'll reboot this? And if so, are they going to once again distance themselves from all the pre-established characters?
I kind of think they're gonna. I feel like the part 7 in this franchise is going to only reference part 1 and 4 type of thing. Okay, I could see them doing that. Yeah.
So we'll have to have at one point Laura Dern will have a baby and be like, "Oh, Laura Dern, you got pregnant again?" It's like, no, we just cloned a baby. Yep. Maisie, who's now 35, did this.
Yeah. Yep, and I could see that the legacy character they bring over in the third reboot or second reboot, third part of this, whatever the hell you want to call it, would be Maisie, of course, because I think the
literal most least interesting character in any of these movies.
But she's the youngest, and so that seems.
Just put Laura Dern. Just literally have Laura Dern hooked up to the Animus, and just have think Palpatine in The Rise of Skywalker to bring it full circle of that. Just have Laura Dern hooked up and be like.
Now that should have been the third act of this movie. Attenborough, John Hammond on an Animus in the center of the biosyn.
He's it's like everyone's like, John Hammond, I thought you were dead. I died once before.
Yes, absolutely.
I could give you everything.
Oh, that would be great. That would be great. But that's not what we got. Well. If you want to complain about dinosaurs to us, or you want to talk to me about how dinosaurs never existed, you want to commiserate about how everybody else is wrong and that dinosaurs are a fictional creation, you can always yell at us at the cinemoddities@gmail.com. And if you like what you heard, or you want to hear even less about dinosaurs and want some more episodes, then check out the Cinemoddities Patreon, patreon.com/cinemoddities, where we have going full force with a bunch of fan requests. When this comes out, I think the last thing that we released was Ben and I discussed Robert Zemeckis' Beowulf. So check that out. Other than that, Zach, any final thoughts for this episode?
No, just took a brief break from the Fort month. Next week will be a certain anthropomorphic dog that likes to solve mysteries and cannot say the letter D. And then after that is again another anthropomorphic dog that likes hijacking things. Absolutely. So if you know your 2002 summer blockbusters, both of those should be pretty evident to you.
All right. Well, then it all only remains, how do we want to end this episode? Do we want to just use the score?
Does it have to be bum 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 bum?
Is there anything else we have to choose from?
I don't know. Even the score in this, Michael Giacchino is so bland. Yes. The only interesting parts are the John Williams score, and it's oh god, that again. How many times can we just run that into the ground?
I felt the same.
Should we say that? Am I surprised? Should we say that this movie once again? Where was Judy Greer? We brought back every character in the Jurassic World franchise. Where was Judy Greer? And the kid from Iron Man 3?
Yeah, how great would it have been if the undercover agent they meet in Malta was Judy Greer? I would have loved that.
It's hard to think about it now, considering that was 7 years ago. But there was a point where Judy Greer was in every single movie,
right? Literally every movie.
Exactly. Like it's hard to like what we'll see her again later this year when we eventually talk about the oh god, the
Yes.
most contemporary version of the Halloween franchise.
Yeah, yeah.
But like, man, Judy Greer, at one point she was everything, and now like she's not in anything.
It's a bummer. She's great. She's great.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I guess.
Bum,
Yeah,
bum, bum,
bum.
bum.
Play that in reverse to undo the sins of this franchise. I like that rationalization.